live, and as soon as the boop's over, I gotta run and let the dog back inside. So I'll be right back. Live, and as soon as the boop's over, I gotta run and let the dog back inside. So I'll be right back. Live, and as soon as the boop's over, I gotta run and let the dog back inside. So I'll be right back. Live, and as soon as the boop's over, I gotta run and let the dog back inside. So I'll be right back. Don't spill it. Did I miss anything? No? I'm back? Hello. Okay. Okay. Did I miss anything? No? I'm back? Okay, alright. Audio sounds good. How we doing? We're hopping right into a game. I'm a little late. Shit happened. So before the game starts, let's do the prep we have to do. There's a tournament today. It's a new player land battle tournament. I have been gone for a little bit. I've been trying to sell board games to nerds. It went okay. We can talk about that more later. Here's the bracket. I normally start from the start of these things. I stream from the start, all that stuff. You're used to that, but it's been a busy work day. I had a very last minute important meeting come up. I could not skip it. So I got the tournament started, told everybody to start without me, and I'll hop in when the meeting is done. So the meeting is done. We are here. I'm still in my work clothes. Hazel has been fed her lunch and let outside. All of our duties are fulfilled, and we are here. So, Riki-chan, Anti-Kaiju, Son of Heaven, Helmhammer, Sailing Eater, and Zoiber are probably very close to finishing their series, hopefully, since the tournament did start about an hour ago. We are here with Bavanos and Rusto. And we'll see how that goes. So some basic best of 3 land battle action. For any news, for anybody who's not like super plugged into the competitive scene, the official rules, not just mine, but the official rules changed that Grail Knights and Grail Guardians are the same unit now, and they have a combined limit of 1, so you could have one or the other, not both, and only one of that. That'll hopefully bring Bretonnia down a little bit in their priority. But there's also some global bans, so, I mean, if you don't ban it at some point, that's on you, right? Whew, and we are getting straight into the game. What other shit do I need to talk about and things? Busy gathering warp dust for the Great Machine thing. You're 14 minutes early? Yeah, I posted the original thing at 11, though. So I'm an hour late to what I wanted to be streaming. I usually stream these from the start. But shit came up. What up, Lil Trill? How you doing? I feel like there's a lot to say, but now I'm just blanked, you know? That's all I got. I have been gone for 2 weeks. Like I said, I was at a convention in Ohio, Origins Game Fair. We sold 57 games, I believe. It's not quite 60, but we got 57 boxes out of the basement and into people's hands and homes, and now they're out there playing those games, so good for them. Made some connections. Met some distributors, hoping to get into a distributor soon, though that whole process is a little intimidating and scary, but whatever. So the convention went fine. That's why I haven't been around for 2 weeks. Driving 11 hours to Ohio and then back, and I was there for like 5 days, and then you got to figure out your shit, get your life in order, and I took PTO from work, so then I had to figure out work stuff, so I've been busy. I haven't played Warhammer since the last time y'all saw me, 2 Thursdays ago. Yeah, it was actually 14 days on the dot, so I haven't played anything. I'm feeling real rusty. I'm feeling like a piece of human waste, utter garbage. And we have a lot going on. I know It's Current Year wanted me to shout out that he has a tournament tonight, and he will be returning to streaming, so go check that out. It is posted on our Discord in the tournament section. He's a friend of the channel. He's a good guy. Anything else important right now? We have an Ultra Funds tournament on Saturday that no one has signed up for, and it makes me really sad because I think Ultra Funds is super fun. So go do that. Friday Night Fights with Cool Umbrella. Tomorrow I'll be streaming that. So we're streaming today, tomorrow, Saturday, and Sunday. Sunday I'm streaming like a community event thing that you can't sign up for. It's just like a for fun, silly thing. But yeah, I think that's all the spiel. I think that's all the stuff. We're back. We're here. How fares the YouTube content creators these days? It appears to be a bit of a dry spell. When I look around, I really don't see that many other people doing too much Total War content. Turin has like a daily domination replay he casts, but I don't see him doing a lot of live streams. I don't see a lot of people doing a lot of live streams. Platypus did a live stream of his land battle tournament Sunday. Yeah, it's been Tactical Lich also releases a video about every day for some replays and stuff. But yeah, it's been a dry spell. But let's actually talk about this game. What's happening in this game? Sigvald, all right, I'm out. It's been a dry spell, you know? It's been tough. I think some people are switching over to Genshin Impact, and that's pretty cool. All right, I'll go do it. I'll go do the thing. So we have Chaos versus Vampire Coast. Prince Sigvald the Magnificent. Honestly, memes aside, I haven't seen too much of him these days, so I'm not immediately like, ooh, cringe Sigvald. Happy to have a little bit of mix-up. But Naked Exalted Hero also on foot. We have a Deathcaster up on the high ground on a horse with Fate of Yuna and Spirit Leech. 5 Marauders in the front line. 2 Aspiring Champions, and the third is the Severed Claw, so they're more of a weird... They're an entirely different unit. They do anti-large halberd stuff. 4 armored Chaos Trolls, and that is it for Chaos. They don't really have any cavalry to speak of. For Bavarat and the Vampire Coast, we have a front line of sword mobs. Then it looks like 3 bombers, some halberd mobs, triple depth guard, one of which is the pole arm. We have the Arwar Crabs, Lamprey's Revenge, Count Noctilus on foot with summon and heal, and then a Deathcaster with just Spirit Leech. All right, and Sigvald is going to say hello to that Deathcaster, and the Deathcaster just want to get the fuck out of there. Immediately runs away. 1 hit and just nopes. That's pretty good. Oh, there's also a single shotgun mob. Hello, shotgun mob. Getting some good shots onto these Marauders despite the uphill angle, so actually that's rather optimistic of them. It is risky to take those things if there's cavalry or dogs that could charge in and get a lot of value out of killing this unit, but looks like that's not really going to be a problem. What is getting Fate of Bunin here? Oh, it's the Depth Guard. Okay, that's a pretty good shout. That's a pretty good shout. In the area it was, I thought one of the players had Fate of Bunin like a bomber mob, and that would definitely not be worth your time. Anyway, for Rusto, these Chaos Trolls do need to charge down here and get involved, especially with those shotgun mobs. They need to take them out. Chaos is saturating the front line as they need to do. It looks like there are some like little lapses in micro, but thankfully in this specific matchup, most of what you need to do is just chuck your front line against the Vampire Coast, and then most of your micro comes in the cavalry, which again aren't present here. Most of your micro comes in Lord micro, cavalry micro, things like that, but largely throwing your Marauders and Forsaken or whatever you want to bring in this matchup at the front line is a good first step, so at least they're doing that. Armored Chaos Trolls, they're doing okay. Their leadership is really faltering versus the undead, but thankfully most of the pole arms are on the flanks of the centerpiece trolls. The 2 centerpiece trolls aren't as threatened. Things started out going rough for Chaos, but as the fighting ensues, it is going much, much better for them, as these Depth Guard with that Fate of Yuna got whittled down quite a lot. This Deathcaster is keeping the shotguns busy. Sigvald and his Exalted Hero are grinding through infinite amounts of chaff, and the trolls will regenerate after they rout, so no real big deal there. Damage value, Bavarat is still a little bit ahead, which is expected. This Exalted Hero is getting worked down, especially being surrounded by Depth Guard. Even though they are pole arms, they're still armor piercing with an impressive 52 melee attack. That'll get through that Exalted Hero rather quickly. And Spirit Leech spam has just been on his ass. And these bombers do need to be shut down. While thankfully the Severed Claw and the other Aspiring Champions don't take nearly as much damage from the bombs, and honestly the bombs are doing more friendly fire than regular fire, it is killing off most of the Marauders, you can see. They're taking a lot of damage there, so these bombers do need to be prioritized a little bit harder by the Chaos Forces. But again, that lack of any cavalry or dogs of any kind just makes this a front-to-back fight, so you can't really choose who you're fighting. You fight who's in front of you. It's you get what you get when you just have infantry and some monsters. Lamprey's Revenge are going to be actually tough. If they sit on top of the Severed Claw, they'll take a lot of damage, but other than that, they can actually just run freely and do whatever they want, as we can see they are doing. Now, with so many summons from Noctilus across the board, it's kind of hard to keep track of what's actually going on around here. But those will fade as the game goes on, because that's a summon, that's a summon. Any pistol mobs will be summons, because he didn't bring any original pistol mobs. Yeah. I've only seen one Fate of Buna from this Deathcaster. I kind of wonder what they focus their time on doing. I wouldn't hate for more Fate of Bunas onto just the Depth Guard with Polearms. Really whittle those guys down. Because Spirit Leeching, the Vampire Fleet Admiral, and Noctilus, two things. One, they're just going to heal. And two, Sigvald can take care of them. Sigvald can outduel both those guys. He's not really worried about that. I just would worry about too many Depth Guard, especially against the Trolls. Another summon for the Pistol Mob. Jesus Christ, Bavaret. How many have you thrown out? So he had 7 uses of it. He has 1 left and none from the Captain Rossman battle. Okay, so it's not just me. He has been spamming those summons, ripping through them as fast as possible. But that does mean, you know, there's a finite amount of them. And Chaos is down to the bounce of power right now. They're keeping up in damage value. I am getting a little concerned about the coast. Right, because a lot of this power is these artificial summons that are lingering around, but Chaos Trolls have a lot of healing left to give, and the long game definitely benefits Chaos, with Sigvald's healing, the Trolls all healing and stuff. Whereas for the Vampire Coast, they also have a decent amount of healing, but they have Crumbling, so it counteracts it a little bit, and these Depth Guard are already approaching their heal cap. This action does have my consent. Alright. I'll catch up with chat in a bit. We got right into a game, so I didn't have a ton of time to sit here and read all your shenanigans. Trolls are currently in a bad way. They're going to fight Noctilus. Ooh, and a Pistol Summon. Yeah, this is real bad for them. That is the last of Noctilus's summons, so I'm sure the Chaos player is breathing a sigh of relief. But they're currently fighting in some Chaff Halberds, Elite Regular Infantry, a Duelist with a Halberd, and they're getting shot by pistols, so they are going to want to walk out of here. And even a Wraithstorm is chasing them down. Damn. I don't know how many times the Trolls have routed, but they're probably going to shatter before too long here. Yes, these guys are routing. They'll route off, and then they'll come back. What I've been talking about, most game does cut both ways. While Chaos didn't bring any dogs, neither did the Coast. Oh, and a really nice Fate of Buna onto the Depth Guard with Polearms. Yeah, that's exactly the target you want. And that Spirit Leech went where? Spirit Leech onto the Lamprey's Revenge? Something. No, it was a Spirit Leech onto the Severed Claw from the Coast. Gotcha. And both sides using the same spells. It's really hard to tell what's going on. Sigvald has found the Deathcaster, though, and this is why I didn't really want the Chaos player to be spamming Spirit Leeches on him, because Sigvald's going to dumpster this guy. He'll dumpster Noctilus, too. No problem whatsoever. All of your problem is the supporting elements, and things are getting real bad for the Undead now. Their last summon has... Where are you at? Okay, still has about a minute left of life, but after that, no more reinforcements for them. The Lamprey's Revenge are healing but crumbling. Depth Guard are healing but crumbling. Other Depth Guard are not crumbling just yet, but getting real close. And you still have a Sigvald to deal with. And honestly, Sigvald could solo out the rest of this army. But it's not just him. He still has a caster, which he doesn't even need. For the Coast, they have dealt with most things. The Severed Claw getting pushed off is a good start. If they can keep their Lamprey's Revenge alive without the Severed Claw around, Lamprey's Revenge could actually do some serious work in the late game. Trolls are coming back, but we know that these two specific Trolls are going to shatter the next time they route. So they're not, like, the biggest deal, right? It's not like a Croxor or something that'll actually fight to the death. Depth Guard are fading away, leaving Noctilus all alone versus a rather healthy Aspiring Champion and some Trolls, but Sigvald is going to be his biggest problem there, and I just don't see how the Coast is going to deal with Sigvald. He was forgotten for a bit from the meta, but he is still rather dangerous if you don't have any dedicated single target killing stuff. Another Spirit Leech, but another heal on the Lamprey's Revenge, and it is just going to be an FF. Chaos and Rusto will take game 1. Sigvald did great. Severed Claw did fine. Spirit Lich... Oh, that's the Exalted Hero. Exalted Hero didn't do too much, unfortunately. Aspiring Champions did fine. There we go. Spirit Lich Caster and Fate of Buna Caster did really well. Trolls didn't get a ton of value, but they were sticky. They were annoying. Their regeneration definitely caused the Coast to sweat a bit, and Marauders mostly got sacrificed to the Dark Gods. The other side, Noctilus did really well with all of his summons and support and stuff. We saw him just spamming that shit out. He's not going to get a ton of value, but... it is what it is. Spirit Lich Caster did okay. Depth Guard in general did fine. Lamprey's Revenge did fine. The Shotgunners got a lot of shots up, but didn't get a lot of value because they could only really hit Marauders. Polearms, Bombers, fine value. Yeah. It was alright. I liked both builds, but Sigvald just didn't have a whole lot to fear in this enemy build. The Coast can have a hard time dealing with Siggy. They need to either find him isolated with the Lamprey's Revenge and kill him that way, or double gunnery whites on their crabs or something, but it's tough. Because not like Sigvald's just going to let you do that, right? He had troll support, he had infantry support, so it was just a good build for both sides. Is Brett still pick or ban? I don't know after the rules came out that said only one Grail Guardian or Grail Knight. You can't have both. You can't have two of either one. So with only one Super Busted Knight and one Hippogriff Knight running around, I don't know. But yeah, they seem to still be pretty strong. There are global bans in this tournament, so if players don't want to fight them, they probably won't. All right, I'll catch up with chat in just a second. There's a ping for me on Discord. I need to figure out if it's important. Okay. All right, I'm back. What up, Jeremy? You're always winning. And Toyevich, you did sign up. You did great. I'm sorry your computer struggled with the heat. You take what you said about Magnificent Siggy back. What up, Strix? How you doing? Bats would carry. Bats would be pretty good. Alright, Bavarat has informed me that Bretonnia and Ogre Kingdoms were the two global bans, which is what I would expect. They are definitely the most overperforming factions right now. I think Bretonnia is stronger than the Ogre Kingdoms, though after they've been hit with the nerf bat by the rules team like 3 or 4 times in a row. Again, I do really want to see how that goes before I really weigh in on Brett. But like the Grails are the really strong piece and they're really obvious. But like Lewin got some serious buffs. Alberic got some decent buffs. They still have a lot of healing, which is still very, very strong in the meta. So Bretonnia still have a ton of things going for them. Knights of the Realm are still really effective. Heavy Cav. Battle Pilgrims buffs are feeling good. Archers are still good for 400 gold. So like, Bretonnia's not just the Grail Knight faction, it's just Grail Knights are the biggest, easiest thing to talk about. That rose them to like S tier, but I think even if Grail Knights didn't exist in any form, or Grail Guardians, or Hippogriff Knights, if you remove all 3 of them, I still think Bretonnia would be like an A tier faction right now. Which is part of the reason so many people are just so upset about them. Is it's like, okay, you have the most busted unit in the history of Total War, but also you're also just strong without it. Cool. Feels good. Which, most broken unit in the history of Total War, I'm being a little facetious, I think, like, Vampire Counts probably had the most broken phase. Because if you remember the Resurrection bug, you could use one Invocation of Nahak on a unit of Blood Knights and you could heal cap it. That shit was fucking wild. Because of a bug with Resurrection, so models would resurrect at, like, full HP. So, I mean, that was probably the most broken shit in the history of Total War. But Grail Knights are close. Oh, you meant for the Ultra Funds tourney. I got you, dude. What up, man? Well, how you doing? That was a very short break. What? I was gone for 2 weeks. The old Poison Wind Mortar? Remind me, Cyrus, what was broken about that? Are you talking about just like the damage over time dot for Poison Wind Globes, but being on a longer range? The 100k Mage Dragon. Okay, that might be slightly more broken than Grail Knights, but I feel like Grail Knights are more applicable. Visible Dragons is cool too. There's a lot of broken stuff going around. Looks like we have High Elves versus Nurgle. Huh. Short. Hang on. Hazel's been fed. I'm gonna close the door then. Grace is home. She's gonna be working from home for the rest of the day, I guess, but it surprised me. So I heard someone in the house that I was like, who the hell? No one's supposed to be in the house right now. So when patch next year? There's supposed to be a DLC during the summer, which to me usually means August with CA, because like when they give you a time frame, you always aim towards the end of it. So probably August there'll be a patch with that DLC. I forget which DLC is first. Is it Cathay, Kislev, and Tzeentch? Or is it Dwarves Empire and Nurgle? I think Dwarves Empire and Nurgle is second. What up, fat kid at recess? How you doing? You're from Wisconsin? I'm sorry for your loss. Alright, round one is done across the board for anybody who cares about the bracket. So Babanos did prevail over Dr. Nerd. Anti-Kaiju prevailed over Rikichen. Which the Forgotten got a bye round, so he's waiting to just fight Anti-Kaiju. Helm Hammerhand defeated Son of Heaven, and Zoidberg defeated Salinator. Cool. I think that's all I have for spiels and stuff. Is Nooner still a phrase people know, or am I just that old? You're probably that old. She deserves a second meal from her mom. She would have you believe such. She's a very tricksy little dog. Well, she's actually not a little dog. She's 50 pounds. She's 50 pounds of dog. Alright. Bavarad is considering their build. When I last looked, they had a very different build than the one they're currently constructing. And yeah. Our channel's been doing okay. Not great. Viewership's falling. We honestly lost subscribers while I was gone. So that was sad. It does feel like there's a bit of a downer about the game coming back to my Discord, and it was mostly quiet. In the month of July, we will have Season 4 playoffs, and then I'll probably postpone Season 5 start until the next DLC. Yeah. So we'll have some sweaty competitive tournaments in mid-July. Season 4, if you don't know what I'm talking about, the Vermin League. The ladder I run on my Discord. So then at the end of the season, I snapshot the current standings, and if you're in a certain rank, you get invited to that rank's tournament. Like, Grey Seer is the highest rank, so I invite all the Grey Seers to compete for $200, and then the next rank is like Chieftains. Like, invite all the Chieftains to compete for like $100. Shit like that. I'm so old, I was born in a People's Republic. That's pretty old. I'm never allowed to leave again. Alright, what did he settle on? Okay. Alright, 3, 2, 1. Boom. It's official. I'm rooting for the High Elves. You never root for a Nurgle blob. Can I compete in the top tournament? If you're in the top ranks. It's not really a decision I make. I take a snapshot of the screen. The screen tells me what rank you're in, and that's the rank you're in. Is there one where I can compete for a nickel? You can compete in any of the weekly new player tournaments if you're a new player. That's for free. I want to drink this tea because I need the caffeine, but it's hot as hell. Oh, I have a video coming out that's not going to do well, but I wanted to make it for me reasons. I finished... Oh, that's one of the things I wanted to talk about. So I finished the Malice Darkblade omnibuses. I finished his entire story. And then I made a 45-minute video talking about it. And that's not going to do well, but sometimes too bad. Sometimes I get to do what I want to do. Nope, we lost Bavarat. Alright, so it'll be same builds. The other people in my life would hit me over the head and steal the money. That would be bad. Don't get murdered. Alright, so we'll try to get Bavarat in here. Same builds. Sorry for the delay. Why don't you just let it cool down? I will. I will. Is the Malekith rant in it at least half the video? I did at the start of the video say if people like this kind of content, I'll do the Malekith rant as a one-off video. But it is mentioned, it is not in there. And then I started the Sundering omnibus, the omnibus entirely about the Elves. Alright. Elves are kind of meh. Elves are meh. These books are really well written, and I like some of the characters a lot, and like all that stuff. I get it. But also reading about the elves, I'm like, these are just Slaanesh cultists with pointy ears. Because most of the elf, like, time is just spent like, hey, you over there. You want to have sex? Hey, you over there. You want to drink some wine with me? Hey, you over there. You want to leisurely lay around and do a bunch of drugs? Thanks, bro. We're the best society in the history of anything. And I'm like, God damn. Lamb Sauce came with the $10 Malekith rant video, the Horned Rat demands. Okay, I'll make a note. I'll do it. Malekith rant. What's with the wait? Bavarat crashed, so he's back now. But yeah, like, reading the books, Malekith is just not very bright. And he's like it's not bad writing, it's good writing. Like, he's a great warrior and stuff, and he's like very talented, but he's such a little shit. And it's funny to watch like everyone slowly realize it. And he just has like really bad ideas and really bad plans. Like when he goes to become the Phoenix King, and he walks into this room and he's like, now, a lot of you support me, and I get that. I want to be the Phoenix King. How do you guys feel about that? And they all said, like, no. And he's like, it shocks me to my core that you would all say no. And they're like, bro, why do you have a sword? Like, we weren't supposed to bring swords. And he's like, to kill you all with. And then a bunch of his knights show up, and he tries to kill them. And then he walks into the fires of the elven god that will judge him to be pure of soul in a room full of people he murdered in cold blood by lying to them. He thought he could just walk into this fire and his god would be like, it's chill, bro. And he's like, I see no problem with this plan. And then his ass gets burnt to death. And he's like, how could this happen? I'm like, how could it not happen? Are you a fucking idiot? What did you think would happen? You're at essentially a trial. You murder the defendant in front of the judge. Then you turn to the judge and you're like, so not guilty then? And they go, yeah, you're super guilty. And you're like, what? On what evidence? You murdered the defendant in front of him. Of course you're guilty, you stupid fuck. Oh my god. It's so funny, man. And it's like, it's not bad writing. It's like, that tracks for Malekith's character that they've set up. He is so fucking full of himself. It's just really funny to me. Like, my guy, what are you doing? Dark Elves are just a big frat party? Yeah. The fun thing is that later he marries L'Oreal. Ugh. Yeah. Murdering people that are standing in my way is 100% justified. I mean, you might think so, but before jumping into a fire powered by a god that's going to determine whether or not you're worthy, maybe stop and really consider if everybody agrees with you about whether or not it was justified. What do you think about the end times 180 where you should have stayed in just a bit longer? Very stupid. Very stupid. Because, like, Anarian wasn't burned that badly. Like, the whole point is that, you know, he was deemed worthy, so then the gods didn't just, like, burn his ass to death. So the fact that Malekith came out, like, worse off than Anakin Skywalker makes me definitely, should he have stayed in a little bit longer? Because the only case of a guy surviving that fire, balls to the walls, butt naked, he didn't get burned, like, at all. So, come on. And you might be like, well, what about Belshazzar? Or the other Phoenix Kings, they survived it. Yeah, they had, like, a whole ritual and a bunch of, like, wards protecting them, some from Safri and, like, mages taking care of them, and they had medics on standby and shit, so I'd hardly take that one as, like, just trusting the will of the gods. They definitely took some precautions. Malekith just walked in because he thought he was that much of a badass, and then he was very wrong. Anyway, what are we doing? A Nurgle blob, essentially. Flamespire Phoenix for the High Elves. Imric is up on his spooky dragon with most of his abilities. We have a Regrowth Caster. That is the only spell she brought. We have 4 Lothern Seaguard, the Fireborn Dragon Princes, and 4 Illyrian Reaver Archers. For Nurgle, we have Kugath Plaguefather, Uncle Furuncle. Lil Trill's probably pretty happy about that. We have a Soul Grinder of Nurgle, 4 Plague Bearers, 2 of which are Exalted, and one of the Exalteds is the ROR. We have 1 Plague Toad and 1 Nurgling. The High Elves are decently set up to deal with this, bringing a good amount of archers, but I personally don't like Illyrian Reaver archers. I know, like, on paper they're good, but I've just struggled to see them really do that well. Nice breath attack from Imric, trying to get a little bit of poke onto Kugath. But it's good that they brought the archer variant so they can just shoot in and in. It just, I don't know, their DPS isn't there for me. You're gonna need a lot of DPS to deal with this Nurgle squad. So hopefully Rusto's targeting is on point. Because he's gonna want to put a lot of damage into Kugath rather than the Plague Bearers. And Kugath is definitely the first thing you want to kill. A Regrowth on Imric, that is going to be a lot of wasted healing unless he, like, dives in to take some damage right now, because that's way too much healing for how little damage he took. Okay, yeah, so he is trying to dive in. So some preemptive healing as he dives onto Kugath. Now, unfortunately, he's just following Kugath instead of actually doing an attack, because I guess reasons. Kugath has one of the most broken models in the entire game. I will die on this hill. Like, foot characters can frequently get into a situation where they just, like, can't hit him because they can't reach the middle. Ranged units will sometimes shoot at, like, the base of his model rather than the middle. And as we just saw there, Imric just walked up and then couldn't catch up to him even though he's 28 speed. I don't know. Kugath's broken. And not, like, in an OP kind of way. In, like, a I don't think you belong in this game kind of way. Alright, he is taking a lot of damage, though, and this is kind of the dichotomy of Kugath. He can either carry an entire game for you and get 7,000 value, or get, like, literally none and just die instantly, and this is looking like a die instantly. If Imric gets another breath attack onto him while he's sitting still, he's probably just going to die outright, as these Lothern Seaguard and the Illyrian Reavers are just pouring so much damage into him. He even has to use a Fecundity Tier 2 army ability on himself just to stay alive. Imric is dueling with Soul Grinder of Nurgle, which he's pretty fine to do. He wants to stay away from Uncle Frunko, though, and he's going to get back into this guy. Rusto, isn't that a Futurama character? I don't know. Doesn't sound familiar to me. Because Rusty's the janitor. Anyway. Kugath with a Fleshy Abundance and a Fecundity Army ability is back to almost full HP, but you're just dealing with his heal cap at that point. Like, if you can snipe him out, great, but most of the time you're going to have to kill him from 100 to dead, and you can see there is the heal caps. The High Elves do have to keep on the pressure. The biggest mistake they can do is dividing their fire. Like, whenever you're fighting a healing faction, Nurgle or anybody with Lore of Life or anything, I see so many people like get something low, and then when it heals, they lose hope, so they'll shoot at something else that hasn't received healing, but then that thing's also just going to get healing. Unfortunately, with the way healing is, you just like, you got to double down. You got to double down. You are killing this one thing until it is dead as shit. So, hopefully the High Elves keep on that. Kugath is taking a lot of damage, so the strategy is working if they just stick with it. Lather and Sigvald are rallying in the far fields to keep shooting at Kugath, and Imric is going to take a moment to snipe out the Soul Grinder with his Flamespire Phoenix, which is a good play. I mean, it was all alone, so you can get a little bit of free damage in there. The Illyrian Reavers are running out of ammunition, which will soon turn them into just light cavalry. Not the worst thing in the world. They can still get some rear charges off and do some things like that, but the Lather and Sigvald running out of models to keep shooting is going to be a bit of a problem as they continue to harass Kugath. Kugath and the Soul Grinder have a lot of ammo, but their ammo has not amounted to much. Cool Umbrella plays a lot of Nurgle, and he noted, and I definitely agree, that it feels like Soul Grinders are just not nearly as accurate as they used to be, and even that, I was never impressed with Soul Grinders' accuracy, so when they're less accurate than before, ugh. Balance power is about even right now. I definitely disagree. I feel like the High Elves are in a very good position with what's going on right now. As the Plague Toads are finished off and the Fireborn charging back in, a Phoenix is in here fighting. Soul Grinders shooting and missing the Lather and Sigvald at point-blank range. Feels really cool. Kugath's getting awfully low, and I think our last breath attack is about to be used now, right on top of Kugath, and that might be the end of him and the end of this game. Yeah, while he's netted in like this with all these Illyrian Reavers, there it is. There's a big breath attack. And it's a lot of damage. It doesn't look like a lot because this dude has the highest health pool in the entire game, but Imric's also going to land on him as archers continue to support the fight a little bit. And Imric gets a big shot onto Kugath. If his leadership dips and that demonic instability, he is toast. He throws a Flesh Abundance on himself that is going to heal cap him, but that means no more healing for you for the rest of the game. Flamespire Phoenix is also sniping out a Soul Grinder while this is going on. And this Lather and Sigvald still has 4 volleys left to shoot into Kugath. Uncle Frunkle might be a bit of a problem, but Imric can handle him with some decent cycle charging. The big important piece is to take out Kugath's healing. You still have Fecundity Army abilities healing, but, I mean, it is what it is. Plaguebearer fading away. Soul Grinder almost crumbling, but not quite. And Kugath is officially heal capped, so you can see all that damage that is coming in, onto him now is going to stick. Imric is fighting Uncle Frunkle, which he needs to not do until Kugath's officially dead. Down to 2,000 HP for that guy. And it's a double whammy if you get rid of Kugath, because the Lord is Dead debuff will cause more stuff to crumble quicker, like this Soul Grinder that keeps rallying and then crumbling and then rallying. So if they can actually finish off Kugath, that would get the Soul Grinder to also go. And this is a mistake. Imric just sitting here fighting Uncle Frunkle is not the way to go. Like, it's exactly what you're talking about. Kugath's so close to dead, you just have to dedicate the resources to actually finishing him. Because if you don't finish him, then he just gets to heal other stuff. Big shot onto Kugath. Again, his leadership is faltering. Right now, Plaguefather's Orations is keeping him above that, but as soon as it fades, it is over and Bavarat will just surrender. As Kugath and Soul Grinder were about to die, it would leave just Frunkle and some Plague Bearers, which is not enough. Imric did not get nearly as much value as I would have suspected, honestly. Lather and Sigvald, the 2 that got to shoot for the whole game got a ton. Illyrian Reaver Archers also got a lot. So the Archers definitely carrying the day there. On the other side, Kugath, 2,900-ish value. Uncle Frunkle, 1,600. Soul Grinder, a pitiful 700. After using, like, a lot of his ammo, too. I don't know why that thing's so wildly inaccurate. Plague Bearers did fine. Exalted Plague Bearers did fine. Then the Nurglings and the Plague Toads just got borked. GG's. All right, that'll take us into the first of our semifinals over here, so you know what we're talking about. So Rusto will go to fight Zoiber. We will spectate that. And the Forgotten Anti-Kaiju are still fighting to see who gets to fight Helm Hammerhand. You forgot that they changed the Legendary Lord portraits now? Yeah, they're not great. Rusto and Zoiber. You are up. If you get your opponent before stream is ready for your semi-final. Okay. That was quick for a Nurgle Slugfest. Yeah, the High Elf army was pretty well prepared. Had a lot of archers. It's like Anakin killing the council and asking another Jedi to name a master now. I press the thumbs up button for the stream. What happens if I push the thumbs down? Yeah, what Fat Kid said. It's a slight annoyance, but not like a major problem. It summons, debuffs everyone around him as the biggest HP pool in the game. Yeah, he has like one weakness, and it's ranged. He just can't do anything about ranged. So if you bring ranged, he's dead. If you try to fight him in melee with anything, Kugath's just gonna body it. Hey, Spirit of the Gorg, how you doing? How you doing? Alright, we're just waiting for the lobby to be made. There's a thing that's just called Land Battle Yes Yes, and it didn't used to be there, so I'm wondering if that's where I'm supposed to be going. I don't know. I'll message Rusto. You've arrived, show dog or riot? I think the dog is hanging out with Grace somewhere. What are your thoughts on the Dark Elf changes? Crafty Craft, what Dark Elf changes? Which ones? What are you talking about? Are you talking about from the last patch? Are you talking about in the books? Because we were just talking about the books a little bit ago that you were weighing in on. What specific ones? Zoiber has the lobby. Fine, I'll message Zoiber. Yo. Got a lobby? If so, spec slot, please. I'll see what the dog's doing. Hey, Zol. She was outside, laying in the sun. Alright, we have a lobby code to join. Ha! I was right about what it was called, it just didn't have a spec slot. That's the funny. Alright, I'm joining in. I'll update the scorecards in a second. I'm gonna call the dog, but it's gonna be kind of loud, so I'm gonna mute the mic. I'm back. Hey, what you doing? Hey, what you doing? Come here. Come here. Who's your good lady? Who's your good lady? Yeah. Yeah. You're the best lady. You're the best lady. Yes, you are. Who's your goodest? Who's your goodest? Who's your goodest? Who you are? Are you enjoying the air quality alerts so we can't really let you outside for too long? Are you loving it? Are you loving being stuck inside? With the rest of us? With the rest of us? Such a good lady! Look at her! Look at how good she is. So good. So smart. She's a good pup. Alright. Get on out of here, you scamp. Come on. Come on. Oi. There. There was your demanded Hazel. I need to update the scorecards. Rusto is now on the other side, so we'll do with Zoibe. Nomas. And Rusto. Sounds good. Oh, the slave mechanic update from the patch. It's fine. I don't tend to engage in the secondary economies as much. I'm just very much like a what's the main currency? Like, it's gold, but each faction labels it something slightly different. So I mainly just engage in that, and the slaves kind of come passively. Whenever I win a battle, I'll just do like the option that is convert most things to slaves or whatever. But other than that, I don't interact with it too much. I enjoy the Dark Elf campaign, but a lot of my enjoyment comes from reading the books and then playing some of the characters. Like, I played Malice recently, and just kind of getting my revenge on various characters that did dumb shit in the books. Like Marathi constantly scheming, so then I'll just beeline for her with Malice, kick her ass, and be like, that's for chapter 18! That's where most of my joy comes from, not really the slave mechanic. Damn, well. The real estate market's tough if you can't even afford a rolled up piece of newspaper. I must have forgotten, was Malekith actually portrayed as a smart individual in the Darkblade series? No. No, he was not. I will not get baited into that rant. I'm sorry, little troll. Okie dokie. I don't think I have ever seen Zoiber fight. I think I've seen Rusto twice before. The one we just saw, and like his profile picture looks familiar to me on Discord, so I think I've spectated him one other time. But these are two players I don't really feel that comfortable saying like, oh, I know how they play and what they do. So this will be interesting. This for me is like the fun part of watching the new player tournaments, is just watching people that I don't already know. Because a lot of the people that I see on my streams, I already know. Like, you know, if I see Strat Game come up, it's like, okay, he's going to have a lot of mobility-focused builds. They're going to be very extreme as far as strategies go. He's going to play some Skaven, going to play some Ogres, stuff like that. Okay, cool. You know. Oh, cool, Umbrella's here? All right, he's going to play some Nurgle. He's going to play some Warriors of Chaos. Probably some Ogres. Some Greenskins. He has a very defined way he likes to play the game. Okay, I know it's coming. And it's like, it's not a bad thing. But the fun part about the new player tournaments is just seeing people that have some wild fucking takes. And sometimes they're shit. Sometimes they're good. Sometimes they're fine. But it's just fun to not know what's coming. You know? Like Ice Power versus Void Lulls. That was a banger series back in the day, but I knew what builds they were going to bring. Ice Power, pick Dark Elves. Is it Marathi Double Manticore, or is it... Oh, it was Marathi Double Manticore. Void Lulls brought Vampire counts. All right. At the time, it wasn't the Blood Dragon Lord. What did he used to take? Was it the Strigoi? Might have been the Strigoi. Or it was the Blood Dragon even way back then. Don't remember. But is it going to be 4 fucking Vargheists, 5 zombies that he slowly feeds into the Dark Elves while the Vargheists reposition? Is it going to be a Necromancer and a Corpse card with the Stroking Rod? Yes, it is. like, you get used to those builds. The new player tournaments are kind of fun because you're like, don't know what this is. This build's fucking wild. And sometimes they kind of blow your mind. I remember in one of these, Imperator Mortis was playing. He switched his name to that, so I'll just call him that. Imperator Mortis was playing. He played Tomb Kings in like a really weird way, and it kind of made me rethink how I do Tomb Kings. So, yeah. I don't know. Sometimes it can open your eyes to different ways of doing stuff. I gotta check something real quick. Behind the blocker, there's a build that I'm actually not sure if it's legal. Yeah, okay. So I told the player to hold on while I checked something. Okay. Double White Kings. Vargulfs, yeah. Versus that specific Ice Power Dark Elf thing, though. He wouldn't take Double White Kings. It's all about the Vargeists. Lost to Kaiju, but good games. Now I can watch the live stream. What up, Forgotten? Hopefully you had fun. Oh god, we ended up in Skaven versus Ogre Kingdoms. Okay. I've been struggling a lot with this one as a Skaven, but I won't talk about the build I've been struggling with beforehand, because I say this every new player tournament for anybody who doesn't know. In a new player tournament, I generally try not to comment too much on the matchups beforehand, because if one player is listening to the stream and the other one isn't, and I just talk about a build that's been tried over and over and over again and is really good, they could just use that, and it's kind of an unfair advantage. Whereas in a more veteran tournament where I'm like, okay, blank player has been exposed to this build before, and if they choose not to use it, that's their prerogative. But new players, like, just legitimately might have never heard of that thing, so I don't think it's fair to talk about it. Corn could be worse, you guys. Can't believe they removed the Corncaster. No. Green Knight hates magic damage. And for the Grails. What? Why do you need to figure out before Saturday? What happened? Are you playing in the Ultra Funds tournament? In which case, the Grail Knights are still limited to 1. Way less than what I'm used to. Way less toxic than when you're used to dealing in PvP games. Dude. Hey, JC Kevins, you have a good day, man. You have a good day. I played a lot of League of Legends, and there are some obnoxiously toxic people for no reason. I see you died top lane 1 time while ganked by 3 people. I saw you dive top lane once while ganked by 3 people. Therefore, your mother is a whore. Okay, I don't know how those are related, but sure, guy. Triple Cathay Cannon Unlimited Peasant Spears is how you kill the Grail Knights. I actually have been having a lot of good counters to Grand Cathay recently, to Bretonnia recently, and Cathay is one of them. And I've been kind of cagey about this build because I wanted to get some wins out of it before telling everybody what I like to take, because it is quite counterable. But I feel like enough time has passed now that I can reveal it. I was getting a lot of wins versus Bretonnia when I would take 5 Iron Hail Gunners, 2 or 3 Grand Cannons, and then like Jade Warriors and a Yin Caster with the slow, and then 4 Jade Lancers. So what you do is you don't protect your backline. You have like 5 Jade Warriors, and they just walk forward at the Peasants, Battle Pilgrims, whatever it is. The Bretonnian infantry can't kill them very quickly. And your Jade Warriors just muck up the infantry. And your Jade Lancers have 2 options. One, if they brought archers, your Jade Lancers go and stop the archers. If they brought trebuchets, your Jade Lancers go and stop the trebuchets, right? If they didn't bring ranged, then your Jade Lancers need to cycle charge infantry or charge at any non-Grail Knight type unit. You might be like, well, Human Boy, you're not defending your backline at all, and you didn't mention them. They defend themselves. 1 or 2 Grail Knights, right? 2 Grail Knights, maybe a Hippogriff and another Grail Knight or something. They stop 1 Iron Hail, 3 others shoot them in the face. They stop a cannon, Iron Hails and cannon, shoot them in the face. And you just attrition them down, and it's hilarious. It is hilarious. I love it so much. And casting the slow on them on their way in, and just cannons are ripping them apart. It's great. It's so great. I don't know. I love that thing. I won like, I'm like, with that specific build, I'm like 7-1. Yeah. With that specific build, I'm 7-1. And the one time I lost is when someone didn't bring Grail Knights. They brought like 4 Knights Errant, 4 Knights of the Realm. So then it was just a bunch of cheap Knights. And then that strategy doesn't work that well because it's like, well, Jade Lancers can't hold them all back. And your backline is entirely exposed. So they just have enough Knights to run around and stop everything. But like, versus anything with a Grail, been kicking its ass. You play Rainbow Six Siege? Super toxic? Damn. I know a friend that plays that, but I haven't gotten into it. Oh no, Lil Trill. You sowed the seeds for your own demise. Didn't your mother tell you not to tower dive on your own? Yeah. Okay, anyway. Let's go. So in this matchup, this is for the Skaven. We have 2 Rat Ogres. The Blight Scabs Plague Pack Sensor Bearers with their Discourage, Contaminated. That lowers the leadership of the Ogres. Then we have some Stormvermin with Halberds, one of which is Count's Guard. We have the Teeth Breakers, Rattling Guns, ROR, Clan Rats with Spears, and then Skaven Slaves. We have the Thing, Hell Pit Abomination, ROR, and Lord Skrulk. He is actually a very good, he's a very good caster here. So I like this build a lot. I have tried the Hell Pit Abominations. There's a reason Hell Pit Abominations suck, and if you look at this stat line, 52-38 on a Regiment of Renown, you might realize why Hell Pit Abominations are struggling. They have just gotten way behind on the times, where everything in Game 3 is a giant stat stick. The Hell Pit Abomination stats are just too low. On the other side, for the Ogres, 5 Noblar Trappers. A bunch of Ogre Bulls. Ogre Bulls with Iron Fists, more Ogre Bulls. Whoops, did the camera thing again. We have 2 Iron Guts. We have a Slaughtermaster of the Great Maw with Brain Gobbler and Troll Guts. Then we have a Fire Belly with Burning Head. Ooh, and Eruption. That's fun. And then I think 4 Sabertusk packs. Yes, 4 Sabertusk packs overall. So why is this matchup cursed? It's actually not this build. This build could be fine. I don't know. But the build originally shown to me by Cool Umbrella that I just cannot beat is a Hunter on a Stonehorn, and then 1 Crusher, and then Ogre Bull spam and all this stuff, because, like, the Stonehorn can literally go wherever it wants. Like, literally. It can walk through anything you throw at it. Even a Hell Pit Abomination can't stop him. They'll just walk past it, and it's like, he just walks over to the Teeth Breakers in this example, disrupts them, kills them, gets on with his day. And it's like, if you have any range whatsoever, the Stonehorn's just going to walk over to it, and the Skaven can't do shit about it. I've surrounded it in Rat Ogres and Triads. I've shot it. I've netted it. I've used Hell Pit Abominations. I've used Rat Ogres. Like, nothing can stop it. Its mass is so high compared to the Skaven. But, regardless, a Burning Head did go down the center, and it lowered the leadership of some stuff, but its vertical angle and a horizontal setup means it's not going to do a lot of damage to any one thing specifically. The thing is out here getting surrounded by Iron Guts, and this is kind of the fate of Hell Pit Abominations versus Monstrous Infantry. They don't like to be surrounded by things. They're not that good at fighting cavalry or Monstrous Infantry. They really just want to fight a 1v1 with a big monster. So even these Iron Guts are just whooping its ass while supported by so many Noblars. The thing is going down hard. Elsewhere, Skrulk and his spears are holding the front line for now. They are actually holding a lot better than I would have expected, as another Burning Head is going to go down the line. But you can't hold everywhere all at once. And the Saber Tusks are running in. Iron Guts have even sprinted through just to disrupt the Teeth Breakers. Things are going really rough for the Skaven already. Ogres have almost a 2-1 lead as the Thing is going to go down officially. Let's see if it gets us too horrible to die or if it turns into a bunch of Skaven slaves. Usually it turns into a bunch of Skaven slaves. I haven't gotten it to get its heal in a long time. There we go. It turned into a bunch of Skaven slaves. So the Thing's already dead. Teeth Breakers are also routing. Skaven are in mass exodus. The only hope on the whole battlefield, and hope is a strong word, is Skrulk and some spears trying to snipe out the enemy caster lord. But even that's not going great for them, as the only support nearby is some storm vermin that were dismembered, so they couldn't run super fast. Now they are trying to catch up, and Skrulk summons himself some aid, but the Slaughtermaster of the Great Maw could just walk away at any point, so it's not even that dire for the Ogres. If they even realize he's in danger, he can just walk away. And then aside from that, we're already done. It's already down to just the Blightscab's Plague Pack, Skrulk, and the Council Guard. Everything else is routing or a summon. This matchup's so hard, man. It's so difficult for this Skaven to get anything done. Which isn't necessarily a bad thing. It's not like I mean, the Ogres might need to be nerfed for other reasons, but I think this matchup, as long as it exists, will always be pretty bad, because your objectives just aren't aligned. Skaven don't have a lot of mass. They're weak to mass, which the Ogres bring a lot of. The Ogres also are really good at lowering your leadership, and they want to chase down low leadership things and kill them, which you have a lot of models for them to kill to get their army passives. You have some of the most models in the game, and you have low leadership, and you're prone to getting, like, knocked around, so it's just, like, everything about how these factions are designed makes the Ogres really tough for the Skaven to deal with. Skaven have some tools, it's just hard. Skrulk routing because the Firebelly whooped his ass. I'm a little surprised how quickly he did that, but he did go done do it. And Army Losses is holding back for now. The Council Guard will never break. They're unbreakable, so I imagine when Army Losses hits, it'll be these Plague Pack dying off. There they go. So there's Army Losses. And we'll see if this Skaven player surrenders, or if we do have to just watch the Council Guard get killed by a million things. There we go. He is just going to FF. It's a brutal matchup. Teeth Breakers and the Thing really struggled to get any value back. Blightscab's Plague Pack and the Council Guard did fine. Skrulk did okay. The other Storm Vermin did all right. They were still there in the late game. They just got army lost. Rat Ogres really struggled. Oh, that's another thing I've noticed in this matchup is Rat Ogres, you think they would be crucial to holding back the mass, but they have two problems. One, they can't even hold back the amount of mass the Ogres bring. And two, they get fucking bodied by everything. I've noticed. I just stopped taking Rat Ogres in this matchup because they don't hold anything down and they just die. So, yeah, it's tough. Clan Rat Spears did okay. Skaven Slaves got wrecked. Slaughtermaster didn't have to do very much. Firebelly actually did pretty well for once in his life. The Ogre Bull spam proved rather brutal for this Skaven to deal with. Sabertusk packs also getting a lot of value out. And Noblar Trappers paying for themselves almost twice over across the board. Though a lot of that is just from shooting the thing in the face. So, not shocking. Rats don't seem to have anything with enough mass to slow down ogres. They do not. They do not. They do not. And while the ogres are currently overstated and like right behind Bretonnia as a top 2 faction, even with some nerfs, I think this matchup will continue to be tough for Skaven, and I don't think it's a problem that it's tough for Skaven. Like, some matchups are just bad. That's fine. They need a unit of Brood Horrors, a 24 Brood Horror cat. My tea is all gone. Cathay needs to be global banned? I haven't seen a lot of Cathay. Every faction needs a counter. Yeah. Like, Dwarves Skaven has been terrible forever. But that's just kind of the nature of the beast. Like, the dwarves have nothing the Skaven are afraid of as their faction identity. It's just kind of like, it's the consequence of having factions that are unique. So then, like, certain factions will lack certain tools, and if certain tools are the rock to the enemy's scissors, and you just don't have it, then good luck dealing with scissors. I think dwarves right now, power of faction-wise, are mid. They're mid-tier. Some of that power is displayed in a stupid way, like Miters of Blaster Charges and Thoric are way too strong, while things like Hammerers and Longbeards are weak, sure. Like, that's just off the cuff, you know what I mean? There's a deeper dive to go in there. But I also, like, I would rather fight most A-tier factions than fight dwarves, just because the current way the game works, dwarves are so fucking unfun to deal with. It's like, all right, you're not unbreakable, but your leadership is so high, and the way Game 3's leadership works is you pretty much have an unbreakable roster. A bunch of foot characters I have to kill, which are some of the hardest things to kill in the game, because for some reason, even with slight improvements to hitting foot characters, for some reason CA is super against just being able to hit them consistently. Which might not be a decision thing, it might just be a difficulty of programming. Because one thing I've noticed recently is there doesn't seem to be as much of a buff last patch as there is this patch. Like, last patch, if you hit somebody, there was a yes-no box where, did the hit knock them over? If yes, you can't deal damage. Now you can deal damage while knocking people over, which is a big improvement to dealing with foot characters, and I appreciate that. But one of the biggest problems, and one of the reasons foot characters are still so fucking tanky, actually, it's twofold. Is one, hitboxes do seem to be physical and not coded, I guess I would phrase it. So, like, if Scarbrand walks up and does this crazy giant animation and then slams his axe down, it feels like the game didn't check the opponent's melee attack and melee defense and decide whether or not that hit was going to deal damage, and then the animates you were swinging at. So that's stupid. Like, I do think, like, they should just, you know, this attack we determine mathematically is going to hit, so the animation doesn't matter as much. It just looks cool, but for the sake of the fight, it already hit. So either do that, which they don't, or the other thing that's a big problem is things with big models, specifically ogres. Like, ogre characters charging foot characters, so often their belly will bump someone, send them flying before they swing, but then they're locked into their swing animation, so they swing at nothing, and that thing's already gone. So that's one of the bigger problems right now. Dread Saurians do the same thing. Scarbrand does it too, where it's just like, if he's running at a foot character, he's probably going to knock him over before he even swings, and then they're just not in range to be hit anymore, which is stupid. So those two are kind of tied together, but, like, I separated them because they're slightly different problems. Like, if you did the thing where you could fix the first problem, if you fix the first problem the way I wanted it, where it's like, before you swing, it is determined whether or not you hit, then the animation doesn't matter. You solve both problems in one go. But it would at least be nice to solve that other problem of stop knocking people away before you swing. Like, maybe considering their body impacting your body as the swing. I'm just saying. Holy shit, I'm so hyped. Let's go. Rusto, Hero of the People. I'm reading right now The Sundering, which is the elf omnibus, and I'm currently reading Alethanar's book. I love Alethanar. He's such a good character, because he has, like, well-defined flaws. He's kind of an asshole. He's kind of surly, but I love him, and the world just does him dirty. But that's kind of the point. Like, he's just... he's like, hey, guys... maybe we shouldn't do blank. It seems kind of corrupt. And all the other elves are like, shut up, idiot, fuck you. And then, like, you know, a couple years later, they're like, hey, that thing we did, it actually invited a lot of Slaneshi cults who, like, really like the thing we did. And they want to go too far. And Alethanar's like, I told you, though. And then, like, the next thing he's like, Malekith is acting kind of weird. And everyone around him's like, nah, dude, Malekith's just the greatest guy who's ever lived. He's so cool. We love Malekith. And then Malekith kills the Phoenix King and tries to take over Ulthuan, and Alethanar's like, I feel like I warned you. And all the other elves are like, yeah, but at least to be fair, you're a dick. So we don't want to listen to you. And he's like, I'm right. It doesn't matter if I'm a dick. I'm right. I love Alethanar. It's so good, man. Khorne's counter is the army losses balance. True, Versock. 2 Terracotta Sentinels, Meow Yang, Skyjunk's the most toxic thing I've ever seen. It's not fun to play or fight. Yeah, it's pretty dumb. Alright, so we got Alethanar. Let's go. High Elves versus the Vampire Coast. This is usually an archer battle. Again, I don't usually like to talk about the matchups in a new player tournament before we get into the game, so here we are. It's normally a battle of a whole bunch of archers, like honestly about 10 archers plus some rangers as the front line for the High Elves. Maybe some bolt throwers if they're feeling spicy, maybe some Illyrian Reavers, but almost always your DPS is coming out of archers. Versus the Vampire Coast. The Vampire Coast will usually spam out bombers, pistol mobs, and mortars, and try and deal with you that way, plus Noctilus with some of his summons to muck up the back line, maybe some Scurvy Dogs chase off anything you route, but it is a bit of a shooty-shoot battle. And that is a little bit of what we're going with, but both sides took a weird spin on it. Actually, yeah, not even close to what the Coast is bringing. They have a bunch of melee, but they do have the pistol front line I was talking about. So it's Alethanar, and then his Shadow Warriors are his DPS. So it is still archers, but they're spread out and stocked archers, making them much less vulnerable to mortars. We have a Metal Caster with Final Transmutation, Plague of Rust, and Searing Doom. We have triple Lothran Sea Guard, all with shields, and then 2 Silverin Guard, the more elite spearmen. Not even spearmen, they're Silverin Guard. They are spears, but they are spearmen. Fuck it, you get the point. And then we do have the Fireborn in the trees. For the Coast is not going with the average shooty-shoot at all. We have quadruple Mourngul Rush, including the Night Terror's ROR. We have 4 Sirens, 5 pistol mobs, the Tide of Skjold Zombos, Celestial Deerfawn on foot with Vangeist's Revenge, her summon of the crabs, her summon of the Ghost Knights, and Tide Call. And then we have 1 handgun mob up in the sky. Interesting. Looking at the builds, I soft favor the Coast. Soft. Not like they win this game 100% easy, but I do think they have tools to deal with what the High Elves brought. And it'll largely be on Rusto to kind of outplay. Because, like, if those Bretonnian Knights get summoned up, which they are now, and just sprint into the Shadow Warriors while they're all clustered like this, they could get some serious damage going. But if the High Elves are able to, like, sufficiently kite it out and whatever, I actually think that the Damned Knights Errant might have been a little early. But we'll see how they do on the charge. Hit the Shadow Warriors, doing a little bit of damage, and Silverin Guard are going to get in here as well, as the Sirens are getting shot by arrows. We've already lost, looks like, just one of the pistol mobs. Siren's taking a bit of damage. And this is what I was a little worried about, is the Damned Knights Errant charge in just so quickly that the Mournguls weren't in position to, like, follow up, right? Because all this stuff's getting committed to stop the Damned Knights Errant, and imagine that the Mournguls are, like, back here, so the Shadow Warriors have nowhere to go. But that might be a lot to ask of somebody. Not just in a new player tournament, but also, like, I'd probably fuck that up, because it's not a playstyle I'm very good at, so it depends on how much players have really experienced, like, tracking down Kite. I'm pretty infamously bad at dealing with Kite. Damned Knights Errant Summon is done and gone. They got some decent damage onto Shadow Warriors, a little bit onto the Fireborn as well, but the Sirens have gotten to the back line. These handgun mobs are also here. They're going to shoot at probably the Fireborn, and Mournguls diving into the back line. Fireborn are going to light up one of them, but hopefully the other Mournguls don't get too distracted. They do focus on taking down the archers, which is what they're much better at. Big Final Transmutation. It's not Overcast, but it does catch 3 Sirens and Celostra, which is a ton of damage onto a very squishy unit. And things are going quite well for the High Elves right now. Now, once again, once the Mournguls actually got into melee combat where they want to be, they are getting a bunch of damage out, they are getting some serious healing, and the Lothran Sea Guard, the Silverin Guard, are taking a ton of damage. That is all good stuff. But Alethanar and his Shadow Boys are safe and sound. They do have 2 times the damage value of the Coast. And we've already lost, it looks like, 2 Sirens. Is that a Siren or what is it? Because there's 4 total. Yeah. There's one healthy Siren left. The other two are about to die. So we've lost roughly 3 Sirens already. Celestra used one of her summons. Looks like for Morngulls, we've lost pretty much 1. So, yeah, a lot of damage. Celestra continues to scrap with the Fireborn while the handgun mobs are shooting at them, though the handgun bats don't really have the DPS. They've used a lot of their ammo and just haven't gotten much done for it. Rest in peace, gun bats in Warhammer 3. You're not the gun bats of old. One thing you could be worried about is Shadow Warrior ammunition, because after they run out of that, they are a decidedly middling melee combatant. So if they burn all of their ammo and there's still a decent amount of coast left in the late game, that could be a problem. We'll see how much healing they can get. Because the coast did not bring a Healy caster, they brought Celestra. So the Morngulls are relying almost entirely on the hunger to heal them up, which is very slow and very specific. They have to be in melee. Song of Enthrallment, lowering the melee attack and slowing down the Fireborn while they're in melee with a summoned crab. That is a bad time for the High Elves. And we have a bold, decisive Vangeist's Revenge that I don't know if the High Elves saw and dodged. Yeah, they've dodged it now for sure, so that is unfortunately going to be a waste of Winds of Magic, but it was a bold attempt to strike fiercely at the heart of your opponent. Pistol mobs chasing off Silver and Guard. Lothar and Seaguard also getting chased around, so Coast doing a little bit of cleanup. The Shadow Warriors are all still healthy. Alethanar is chilling. He is firing at the handgun mobs. I wonder how much each of his arrows does if it kills a model outright. The High Elves also brought no healing, so the health you see is the health you get, and the Fireborn are not loving that statement. And while I do think the High Elves are still in an advantageous position, I am getting a little concerned at how low the Shadow Warriors are running on ammunition. Morngul is continuing to grind with the Fireborn, though. Major Metal is just chilling. And Celestra, she has a second crab summon, right? Yeah. She has another one, but we'll see how much good it does her. As the handguns continue to shoot at the Dragon Princes, who are getting worked down. Another Morngul fades away, and for the coast, that leaves us with 2 Mornguls who are severely injured. Handgun bats that are almost dead from the Shadow Warrior focus fire that is now coming in, and we have 1 Siren. It's getting a little spooky. It's getting a little spooky as the Fireborn are driven off. At last, Shadow Warriors 1 ammo, 2 ammo, 8 ammo, 3. And then there's the Lothar and Seaguard with plenty. Pistol mobs trying to finish off those Fireborn who do have positive leadership at 87 HP. They are coming back. So the handgun mobs are going to go finish them off, it looks like, because they realize they're not that good against all these archers. Fireborn charge into their death, and they fight to literally the last man before breaking, quote unquote. Handgun bat is dead. The Shadow Warriors are finally starting to run out of ammo. Looks like almost 4 of them have. Can the Night Terrors and the other Morngulls carry? Probably not. Nice little dodge here from the pistols as they continue to fire at the mage, doing rather paltry amounts of damage to her. And the Lothar and Seaguard are continuing to fire in. The Shadow Warrior with ammunition is going to fire in. But the Shadow Warriors have engaged in melee combat for now, getting a downhill charge onto the Tide of Skjold. Shadow Warriors are even wrapping around them, lowering the leadership enough that they might start crumbling. Celestra is coming to rejoin the fight now, as are her Morngul Haunters. They're just Morngulls. The Haunters are the hero. My bad. My bad. The Shadow Warriors, the last one with ammo, was going forward specifically to shoot those Morngulls. Yeah, that is ouchies. That is big ouchies as Alethanar continues to fire. And there's also the bullshit balance of power stuff that when a ranged unit runs out of ammo, the balance of power like hurts your army for having that, even though it's like, I mean, they're still there. They're still melee combatants. They just don't have ammo. So I worry that like the game's undervaluing Alethanar. The Song of Enthrallment and the last summon is out. This will be actually a pretty good trade for the coast, taking out 2 rather healthy Shadow Warriors, or at least they should. And now the coast is actually up on the balance of power just due to the power of that Rotting Promethean summon, but it is false. We all know it will fade away. As these Morngulls finally at last get into melee combat so they can get some of that hunger regeneration, but their crumbling is actually out-damaging the healing already, and they're being shot at the same time. So so it's a little bit of a brutal business for them. The Night Terrors are also going to suffer from crumbling. And the Tide Call hits 2 Shadow Warriors, does decent little damage. They're getting the Shadow Warriors to rout. The Coast is getting further ahead on the balance of power, but that final transmutation is going to be a fucking problem. It is cast on the ground, so Celestra can't get out of it. She is currently sprinting her heart as much as her undead heart can pump to get out of range of it, but she pretty much took the whole undercast. Rotten Promethean summon goes away, and all of a sudden the balance of power is like, oh wait, that was fake. You guys are actually losing. And I go, yep. Don't know why summons count so much on the balance of power, but they do. But they do. The Tide of Skjold is just about dead. The Night Terrors are just about dead, and that'll soon leave just Celestra and her Cyrene companions. Now Celestra and her Cyrenes have caught the last Love and Sigvald that actually has ammunition, but these Shadow Warriors still have 3. A Searing Doom is coming in, and Alethanar has 2. I do think this is doomed for the side of the Coast. Balance power is a funny thing, man. This is like the most over I've ever seen a late game situation, and the balance power is like, maybe. No, not maybe, definitely. But it's like for sure just ranged units are out of ammo, so the balance of power thinks that you're mega fucked now. But Alethanar still has stats of like, okay, he's minus 24 melee attack because of the Song of Enthrallment, but normally it's what, 67, 57? He can do some serious work. Celostra's alone, Cyrenes are dead. Shadow Warriors continuing to fire in, just make her bleed a little bit. Nice little Tide Call is going to wipe out the Shadow Warriors. Now this mage has been spamming out spells. Possibly there's no final transmutations left, and possibly Celestra bodies Alethanar and wins this game. But I don't see that happening. I think Alethanar is going to land 1 solid hit onto her, and then Armilos is going to trigger. He's trying to use his 1 ammunition. He's trying to get in position for it, but it looks like he still can't see. But for now, Celostra's content to just fight Shadow Warriors, and the High Elves are content to let her get slowly whittled by them. Throws out a Tide Call, unfortunately misses the blob of units. Alethanar's going in. Will the prophecies be true? He runs in. Ah. Alright, they just FF'd. Nice. What up, Strike Game? How you doing? Celestra, 1600 value. Mourngulls overall really struggled to pay for themselves. Cyrenes also struggled to pay for themselves. Only 1 actually managed to do it. The handgun mob did okay. Pistol mobs did great. But unfortunately, the Coast build was just too ambitious. For Alethanar... Oh my god. He used all of his ammo when he got 550 value. Jesus Christ, Aleth. That's so sad. Alright, Dragon Princes did great. Even without healing, they managed to pay for themselves. The Metalcaster did fantastically. The Shadow Warriors did really, really well. Their values aren't insane, but they cleared out a ton of this Vampire Coast build. Silvern Guards got bodied, and the Lothern Sea Guard also struggled. GG to Zoiber, and we will see Rusto in finals. Our other semifinal is underway. I don't know if they are in-game or not. I have messaged their players to see what's going on there. Anti-Kaiju versus Helm Hammerhand. While I get caught up with the chat, I will bring the chat over to a different screen. And here you can take a look at the bracket. Alethanar's Bifel, the best elf in the Sundering. Nurgle's PA. Did you read it? I'm halfway through his book right now, so no spoilers. I know the broad concepts. I know like what happens in the Sundering, but I don't know the specific stories, so I guess little spoilers. But Aleth is really funny. I love him. Because, like, the writing of the Malekith book was also really good. As much as, like, shit on Malekith for being an idiot, I don't mean that as in he's a bad character. Like, I'm a person that really appreciates when characters have flaws and they're consistent flaws and they're built upon. And Malekith had a very consistent flaw. It's just it mattered much less when he was an adventuring hero who just wanted to have some fun adventures and feel like a big badass. Like, yeah, then when you're arrogant, it's pretty whatever. The worst thing that happens to you is you lose a fight and die, but like that's not going to affect elven society as a whole. The problem was is that didn't translate to being a leader or like a politician leader, because he's a good general leader, but like in combat leader, but he's not a good like leader of a realm. And so that arrogance just like really fucked with him. I still maintain that the Malekith in the Malice Darkblade books is just a fucking idiot, which is not Malekith in his own books is not an idiot. He's just prideful, but like the Malekith of the Malice books is straight up stupid. Like he is very unintelligent. What up, Patrick Booter? He's brave, determined, and fights hard. God, dude, I love Elith. Oh yeah, I got distracted by talking about Malekith again. That feels like an elf in a nutshell. But yeah, Elithanar is good. His like character flaw is that he's an asshole. That's too harsh, but you get my point. So like when other elves are talking about like, oh, like when you meet someone, you should kiss their hand, and he's like, I have an urgent message for you from the north. Kiss my hand. Okay, he does it. I have an urgent message from you from the north. That's your majesty to you, because you are a prince and I am a king. Your majesty, I have an urgent message for you from the north. Well, first you must take a tea. Fine! He goes and takes a tea for like an hour. All right, I have an urgent message from you from the north. Your majesty. All right, what is it? Malekith invaded like 3 hours ago. He's already taken 2 cities. Fuck! So that's Elithanar. he's just like, I'm trying to do a thing. And like elven society in general is a lot about like, you know, politics and being nice and like knowing what to say and when to say it. He's like definitely not about that. He's like, I have a thing to do. I want to do the thing and then go home. Malekith's really cool until a certain point in history and won't say more. He was pretty cool. As far as Malekith's story, I know what happens to him in the end times because I read Malice's books, so Malice's books dip into the end times. So I know about Malice's version of Malekith, and I know about Malekith's story up until the Flame of Assyrian, where he was a dumbass and just jumped into that shit like it wasn't going to hurt him, and then it hurt him a lot. But as far as the books have told me, he is dead. I know he's not dead because we are pre-Total War Warhammer 1, right? Like, that's... The Sundering is a long time ago, so I know Malekith's not dead, but the book kind of makes you believe he's dead, if you don't know any of the story. He killed usurpers? Who, Malekith? I mean, that's a very generous way of putting it. That is a very generous way of describing what Malekith did. Alright, neither players has gotten back to me just yet. 107 they met up, so they're probably in a game at this point. So we're just chilling for a little bit. We're chilling for a teeny tiny little bit. The Flame of Assyrian is his lowest point. Sick. I would still argue the Siege of Grond is his lowest point because it's in Malice's book, and Malice's book is about Malice, so Malekith is done really dirty. Like, he's done real dirty in Malice's books. He's a goddamn idiot. Oh my god. If the Malice Darkblade books are your only reference to who Malekith is, you're like, why is this guy a legendary lord? He sucks. The Malekith book is actually pretty sick. It gave me a lot of perspective into who Malekith is. Because I only knew Malekith from Warhammer 2 and 3 and then the Malice books. But like I heard some tidbits of lore, so I knew the Malice representations of him was not great. So I like knew that. But this is my first experience actually like hearing his story from his perspective. All right, Anti-Kaiju says they just ended their series, so it looks like we'll be moving on to finals. All right. It is finals time! Anti-Kaiju and Helm Hammerhand have ended, so it is Rusto and Anti-Kaiju in the finals. I'll find their lobby shortly. The moment he became a dark elf slave owner and became my enemy. I will say, I don't have a lot of criticisms about the Sundering Omnibus. It's pretty good. It's pretty good overall. There was one section that I got a little confused, where, like, Malekith's walking through some land that Morathi did some stuff to, and he's like, from his perspective, you, the reader, are told that he finds this horrible, horrid, and he would never do this to another elf. And then, like, that same day, he meets up with Morathi and talks, I'm trying not to spoil too much. He talks to her about it, and then when she's like, but what do you believe, my son? He's like, the things you did were fine. And I'm like, yeah, but it, like, I was in your head when you saw those things and how you reacted. And now how you're reacting later doesn't track. Like, if the book wanted to pretend he was that way, you needed to be reading from the perspective of, like, one of his generals or something that was beside him and said, Malekith looked horrified. And then when he talks to Morathi, then you're in his head and he was like, nah, I was just putting on a show or whatever. But, like, the reader was in his head and he was horrified. And then, like, a couple hours later, he's like, it was chill. What do you mean it was chill? And it's not just like, oh, but he's talking to Morathi, so of course he's going to say everything's okay. It's like, no, in his head, he was like, yeah, it was chill. I don't care. But you did care. It's a very small thing in an overall great series so far. It's not the same as, like, that Vampire Count Omnibus I had problems with, or the Malice Darkblade books, which, while I loved them, had a lot of whoopsies. Like, had a lot of whoopsies in those books. Like Malekith. All right, so I will be casting that semifinal. They have the replays for me. But since both players are here live right now, I don't want them to wait for me. So we're going to do the finals. And then if you care and you're just like, I want some more Total War content, you can hang around and we will be casting those semifinals off of replays. But the finals will be live and we're going to do that first, so that these players can get on with their day. And yeah. Or, it is always a backup plan if we are super laggy for some reason. I can have Anti-Kaiju send me those replays, and then we can cast the replays while they do the series, and maybe without one more person, it's less laggy. So we'll see. But if the connection's good, let's just do it live while we're here. Fuck it, we'll do it live. If you know the meme. Dude just wants to look tough in front of his girlfriend. I'm finishing Calidor, which is also so good so far. I am super curious, Nurgle's PA, and this is no spoilers because I can't spoil it if I wanted to for anybody who's like, dude, stop talking about this stuff. Like, I am so curious about Imric. I really want to know Imric's lore because Imric struck me from the game as like a young, quote unquote, young for a high elf, and he's like very young and arrogant and all this stuff. And then in some of the books, he also struck me as young and arrogant and stuff. And then I find out that he's been here since like the start. Like when Malekith, when Anarion dies, Imric's around. Like, he's in the universe. I'm like, what? Imric's been here forever? And then, like, he's kind of a side character in some of these books. He's popping up, and I'm like, I really want to know about Imric. Like, because knowing what I know about the end times Imric, I gotta know this guy's story, because shit gets weird with him. And I'm like, what's your deal? What's your deal, Imric? I want to know. So I'm very excited to read about Calidor. I don't know a ton about the lore of the series, but I knew Grimgor gave our boy Everchosen a kick right in the balls. Been a Greenskin main ever since. The only Greenskin focused book I've read has been Skarsnik, and that was excellent. That was very good. And then the Greenskins are like the bad guys in a lot of books. Like Gorfang Rotgut was pretty solid. Really enjoyed him as a bad guy. I'm trying to think of other Greenskins that were like good bad guys, but there aren't a ton at the moment. But I do know that there's some Greenskin focused-ish stories coming up when I read Masters of Oath and Steel, the Dwarf Omnibus. That's on my little e-reader. Yeah, I'm going through a lot of this stuff. I'll probably end up reading the End Times just because I kind of want to, like... I want to know what happens. And the End Times I had read until Malice's book. The End Times stuff I had read was fun but stupid. Malice's book actually made me physically angry, and I made an entire video about it. That'll be coming out eventually. But yeah, I just made a video ranting about, like, even for the End Times, the Malice Darkblade End Times book is stupid. It's just stupid. You are better off skipping it. And, like, the fucked up part is you don't even need to read it to know what's going on, because the End Times book before it and the one after it cover the actual details. Malice's plot is a side plot, so it doesn't even establish anything that you need to know for the rest of the End Times, and it's just stupid. Everyone in the story is done dirty. No one comes out of it better off. It's not worth your time. It's just objectively a bad thing to read. It's stupid. Even if you have the Malice Darkblade omnibuses, skip those 240 pages. Just skip them. Read the short story at the end, consider the Lord of Ruin the end of Malice Darkblade, or read the other End Time stuff and just think, you know, just imagine for yourself what happened to Malice, because you couldn't possibly do him worse than this story did. Deathblade is objectively terrible. It's awful. It is an awful book. We're one of the MCs with an Orc. Larry Mad, welcome, welcome. Imric is cooler the more I read about him. Good. You started the Blank Be Like series over a month ago? Yeah, I recorded every faction, which there's 24 factions in the game, so that's almost a month's worth of content. Though I recorded them all in like 3 days' time, and then I've been using them as filler for like, so it's not just constantly replays after replays. So I try to do replay meme. So I've been filling them with that, or just like when I was on this 2-week-long trip and I burned through a lot of my other content, there was this back bank of the Blanks Be Like, which is why so many of them come out in a row. It's because if they didn't exist, right now we would be out of content because I was out of town. I've recorded 10 more videos. I recorded 8 of them last night. So now I just need to edit those, make thumbnails for them and stuff, and get them up on the channel. But yeah. So those Blank Be Like series have been lifesavers right now. Okay. I'm going to take a leak while these guys do their builds. BRB. Back. I will say, this is a dumb, nerdy thing, but maybe it's just me, but I feel like this is a safe audience to talk with this about. I am enjoying the campaigns a lot now that I've read the books. Like when I was reading the Malice books, I played a little bit of a Malice campaign, and I really enjoyed it. And now that I'm reading the High Elf books, this is the first time I've enjoyed playing the High Elf campaign. I famously started and failed to get past like turn 20 of any High Elf campaign several times. It's like it's the campaign I've got the least far in, because you start out, you're safe on your little island, nothing's going on, your early game's just spearmen and archers. But now that I'm reading about it, and I know the characters a little bit better, it's actually super interesting to read, like, about the characters, and then on the map see what's happening to them, because it's slightly random, right? The same factions usually do well, and the same factions usually die. But like in my recent campaign, Imric got bodied by Count Noctilus in like 6 turns, and there's that extra connection that I just know the lore, where I'm like, Imric, dude, my guy. Well, I suppose Imric's actual faction is really far away, but Calidor itself fell to Noctilus like instantly, so Tyrion had to go clean it up. Krace fell over like a bunch of bitches. Illyrian is fighting Tyrannok, which I'm like, you guys, we're getting invaded by demons right now, and you're still caught up in your petty bullshit, which is dumb, and you're stupid. But like, just having that connection with the characters does make the campaign a lot more playable, for me at least, than like, I mean, these are High Elves, and I kind of know them from multiplayer, but I don't give a shit about them. So it's just interesting. I did not like the Dark Elf campaign in Warhammer 2, but then after reading the books, I actually found it a little more enjoyable, mostly just because I wanted to go snipe out every character that pissed me off in the books. Like Marathi scheming. And then I'm just like, gun her down. Dude, Marathi sucks. Like, she's well written, not talking about that. And she's meant to be a bad guy character, and she's a very good bad guy character. But Marathi just sucks. I fucking hate Marathi, man. I hate her so much. Dude, Yvres is actually my bro right now. Eltharion the Grim is the only other High Elf doing well, and he's doing really well. So me and him are trying to keep Ulthuan safe. Slaanesh landed on our shores. They took over Krace. So Nakari's coming down from the north, and we're getting our... Me and Eltharion are back-to-back. Alarielle, I tried to make nice with her very early, and I did. But then she tried to drag me into a bunch of war with other High Elves. Like, Alarielle is super focused on killing every other High Elf she can. And I'm like, what is your deal? Like, you are only attacking High Elves. And Alarielle's like, yeah, Tyrion, if you want any more of this good lovin', you'll get over here and kill him too. And I'm like, hard pass. Fuck you. One good thing about long-lived races is that they're there for lots of the history of the world, as opposed to like the Empire, where you're attached to Franz, but he's nowhere in the earlier stories. Grieven, that's actually really a good point. Yeah. And I feel like the Warhammer books do a good job of conveying that the elves have been around forever. Because a lot of books that I've read in fantasy, when something lives forever, they tend to treat it just like you and me. It's like, oh, this is just like a human that lives forever. Okay. But like the Warhammer books actually do a good job of saying the elves live for such a long time that one of their character flaws is that they just are very callous. Like, they're nice, but they're callous. And if like humans die, they don't tend to care. And there's a bit of like the, oh, mayflies, and a little bit of that like soft fantasy racism, sure. But like, it is more understandable where like, it's kind of like if a cat dies or a dog dies, you're sad. You're not happy that a dog or a cat died, but... And it's not your dog or cat. Obviously, your dog or cat is different. But if like someone's dog or cat dies that you tangentially know, you're like, oh, that sucks. But it's not like you take a day and like mourn it, or like you take off of work and mourn it, right? Whereas like if your friend died, you would take some time off of work and like really process those emotions. But you're like, cats and dogs, they just die. They have such shorter lifespans that like if I took the time to properly mourn every single animal that dies in my lifespan, I wouldn't get anything done with my day. And that's just kind of how they look at most races. And at first, they're kind of friends with the dwarves because the dwarves are the only other race that can kind of get it. Like, dwarves don't live as long as elves, but they live for a long fucking time. And in an elven lifespan, it's like, oh, I can actually bond with you. I can make friends with you over time. I have the time to be friends with you because to an elf, it feels like when they become friends with a human, you know, I'll sail my ship off of Ulthuan once every 30 years and come hang out with you. Oh, hey, Helmut is a good drinking buddy. I like Helmut. He's a good guy. Next time I come around, he's like aged and feeble. He can't go drinking with me. Well, I'm like, in elven years, I'm still like 18. I want to go party and do shit. And this guy he's a fucking old man now. And next time I come back, he's dead. So just have a really hard time connecting and making friendships with these lesser races. Like, I say lesser because that's what they call them, but like the races that die so quickly. And it's like dwarves. Two things about the dwarves. One, they love drinking all years of their lives. And two, they live longer. So like the elves can actually form a friendship with them by like every 30 years I come back and you're still here and you still want to go drinking with me. Cool. Like, so before the War of the Beard, that's why the elves and the dwarves were such good friends. It's just because like they were the only things on the planet that could understand each other and like understand how long they have to be alive and like the deeper bonds that they form, which I feel like a lot of other fantasy doesn't explore. It's just like, oh, elves meet a human and they're instantly best friends, and it's like, no, watching that many humans die in your lifespan, you would get super jaded and you wouldn't want to be friends with humans because it hurts so much for all your friends to keep fucking dying. Anyway, so yeah, I just think that's an interesting lore bit that the Warhammer books actually explore and most other fantasy kind of glosses over. Anyway, we have a build. For anti-kaiju, we do have a Cathay box. It is the dreaded Miao Ying and double Terracotta Sentinel. I hear about this a lot, but I honestly don't see it a ton. So we'll see how it goes here. 1 Hellstorm rocket battery. Well, it's the firing rocket, but whatever, same unit. 2 Peasant Horsemen, a bunch of Peasant Longspears and Jade Warriors displayed in a box, and 3 Iron Hail Gunners. They are versus the Vampire Counts. 5 Skeleton Spearmen, 4 Crypt Horrors, 2 Corpse Carts, 1 with the Balefire, 1 with the Unholy Lodestone, a Necromancer in the back with his Strokey Stroke Rod. Then we have a White King and Isabella von Karstein, who does have Wind of Death and a Zombie Summon. Now, unfortunately, the Necromancer also brought a Zombie Summon, so that is a whoopsie. That is not allowed. We'll see if he even comes close enough to the battle to use it. We'll deal with it. Or if the Vampire Counts lose, then also it doesn't matter. But technically, you can't bring 2 of the same spell. Oh, and there's also some dogs and bats. My immediate thought is that this Vampire Counts build just does not have the DPS to kill the Grand Cathay build. I think Cathay is going to win. I just don't see what kills all this stuff. Alariel's a psychopath, not the Everqueen. Oh, okay. Every major conflict in the canon lore can somehow be traced back to Marathi. Yeah, she sucks. What up, GS? How you doing? The pet argument is literally in a video I watched today about elves and dwarves. Yeah, they gotta treat even a potential spout as a pet. Oh. Ugh. Anyway. Vampire Counts advance has completed. They are here now, trying to get through that front line. The Fellbats have also dove in to try and stop these Iron Hail Gunners from shooting at anybody, and Isabella threw down a zombie summon onto the other Iron Hails. Miao Ying is in the fight for now. Wrath of the Storm is popped, giving Jade Warriors an impressive 56 melee attack, plus magic damage to get through any physical resistance that might be here. Do the Counts really have the gusto? A lot of Iron Hails are getting killed off, so that is a very positive point for them. Already 2 Iron Hails have taken significant damage and are under duress, and the dogs now sweeping through the backfield. And this is what dogs are for. They're not really for the charge. They're for when, like, the box gets broken up a bit, then they can sweep in and clean up the pieces like these Iron Hails. Already Rusto is giving them orders on those Iron Hails. Nice job. Good stuff there. Another zombie summon from Isabella. Onto the point, and the Necromancer is in combat, so he's in range to use some of those sevens. Again, we'll see if the Counts win and if he uses any, then I'll deal with it. What is that? That is an Earthblood from Miao Ying. She is still on foot. She is still kicking the shit out of a White King plus some other stuff. Meanwhile, the Terracotta Sentinel is going to go beat up some doggies. And the Iron Hail Gunners did get back into the box. Can their leadership hold? No, it does not. So they will run themselves out of the ether where they can get run down. But honestly, the dog's taking so much damage, and there's a Peasant Horseman right here. Maybe the Peasant Horseman just protect the Iron Hails and kill the dogs off anyway. Overcast Invocation Heck is going to keep them alive. Necromancer officially used one of his raised deads. No! No! Now I have to hope for Cathay to win to avoid rule break issues. God damn it. Yeah, for anybody curious, you can't take two of the same spell. That's all it is. Master Beguilement onto Miao Ying as Isabella is going to duel with her. 55-70 to 20-45 melee stats because of the Master Beguilement, so Miao Ying's not going to want any of that sauce. And it looks like, yep, both of the direwolves faded. Oh, no, just one that was near the Terracotta Sentinel died. But these guys are, one's crumbling, one's not. Iron Hails are back. If they have orders very quickly, they can turn and shoot at the dogs coming at them. Does not look like they'll get those orders in time. They're getting orders to run back to the formation, but that's not going to be good enough. Terracotta Sentinel's still going absolutely nuts. Counts are keeping up in the damage value, which honestly surprises me a little bit, and the bounce power is even going in their favor. I think that's mostly due to how poorly this duel in the sky is going. Miao Ying was trying to fight Isabella while under the influence of Master Beguilement, so that's not going in her favor at all. Also, like, a million zombie summons. Doing well, you? How's the stream? Stream's alright. Stream's good. We have better viewership than I honestly would have suspected, considering how most of my content's been doing recently. I kind of expected this to be like a 35 to 40 viewer stream. Anyway. Terracotta Sentinels are still going to be a big problem for the vampire counts. Also, just the Cathay chaff, if you can even call it chaff, is going to be a big problem. The bounce power is shifting against Cathay because of all the range units routing, but you don't really need the range units to win this battle at this point. Crypt Horrors will be a bit of a problem. They have been healing up a bunch, though, so I have no idea where their heal caps are, and that could be like the one big threat. It's 4 healthy-ish Crypt Horrors versus big things. See what the Iron Hails end up getting done, but they probably just want to shoot Crypt Horrors. Peasant Longspears also want to focus on Crypt Horrors. These ones are a little AFK. Oh, they have Formation Attack on, so they're doing stuff. They're not actually AFK, they just look that way. Yeah, Miao Ying's going to have to retreat to some spears, probably turn into her human form and get healing up. That'll save her from a lot of the damage with the Crypt Horrors, and it is exactly what she's doing right now. So if they can do that, they'll be fine. She's not super scared of Isabella as, like, a duelist. Another summon is coming out. Peasant Longspearmen are routing. They need to be rallied somewhere else as the Dire Pack get back onto those Iron Hails. And where's the second Terracotta Sentinel? Am I just missing it? I'm being stupid? Okay, it's right next to Miao Ying. That's how I missed it. Corpse Cart, Unholy Lodestone, its passive healing aura is going to be killed off soon. It is crumbling slowly but surely. Miao Ying has healed up a ton since we last checked in on her, and the Terracotta Sentinel is vibing. Aside from that, how are we doing on zombie summons? 5 left on the Necromancer. 3 left on Isabella, so plenty of those. And she does have Wind of Death, if she has enough Winds of Magic to use an overcasted version, because an undercast just is not worth it. Another Invocation of Heck onto the Dire Pack, trying to keep them from crumbling away. They are a Regiment of Renown, but even then they can be rather cowardly at times, as the Miao Ying double Sentinels continue to grind through all this stuff. This White King has been at that much health for quite a while, and as I say that, Miao Ying finally hits him, but I was going to say, someone needs to kick his ass. Corpse Cart's about dead, and Isabella is going to land onto the Terracotta Sentinel, who still has an impressive 33 melee attack, despite being beguiled. Wow, good lord. And then Miao Ying's Wrath of the Storm gets him back up to 57, so he's actually a frightening melee combatant, even while that massive debuff is applied. And the Unholy Lodestone is gone, therefore the passive healing of the vampire counts is gone as well. Now the Crypt Horrors have their own, but still, helps. Something is being cast onto this Terracotta Sentinel. Looks like it is a regrowth. We are back at it again at Krispy Kreme, ladies and gentlemen. This firing rocket crew needs to get over here somehow, to keep the harmony alive. Because you see, only stuff that gets close-ish to it is getting harmony. Which now I guess most of it is. But since the vampire counts routed off all those Iron Hail Gunners and stuff, most of the harmony went with them. These Peasant Longspears get rear charged, they need to turn on and finish off those Dire Pack. Crypt Horror's taking a lot of damage. This Corpse Cart, even though it's a Balefire, it is giving flaming magical attacks, plus the +5 melee defense, melee attack, and perfect vigor auras. I think it should maybe be the next target is Terracotta Sentinel, and he is starting in on it now, but you just gotta get rid of that support, because it gives the vampire counts very bad stats a pretty decent makeover. Another zombie summon is out from the counts as they try to grind through. And I don't know. I'm still feeling generally quite confident about Cathay at this moment. I feel like the Terracotta Sentinels and Meowing are just going to be so much to deal with, but I don't know. We're running out of support. Peasant Longspearman continuing the battle. It's hard to tell how much of this shit's summons. That's a summon. That's a summon. Okay, so vampire counts are out of natural infantry. They only have summoned infantry support right now. That's a boon. If Cathay can withstand the storm, haha, Storm Dragon. If they can withstand the storm of these summons, then the Peasant Longspears will just get absolutely infinite value versus the Crypt Horrors. But that, like, too many zombie summons being brought is a huge effect right now because they're using just so many of them, and there is a reason that you're not supposed to bring so many of the same spells. Just like there's a theory where if you can use something infinite times, then it's probably not fun. Versus like, I don't know. Having it on one caster is fine. Having it on two is like whatever spell you're bringing 2 copies of is probably so unbalanced that it's not worth letting people bring 2. It's generally the thought. Isabel still very difficult for the Terracotta Sentinel to hit, even at 74 melee attack. Apparently her 70 melee defense is keeping her just fine. Wrath of the Storm has popped. This guy has now 98 melee attack. And he swings at her, but he just like physically misses that, or he was trying to hit some zombies or something. So I don't know. Terracotta Sentinels are not that great at hitting individual targets. They probably want to come back and hit the Crypt Horrors. Since these guys are almost heal capped, you do need to just take them out. Instead of fighting Isabella, because we talked about it way earlier in the stream with the Nurgle game, but it's like, Isabella has tons of healing left to her, so if you continue to fight her, she's just going to heal up. You might as well fight the stuff that's already heal capped, get rid of them, and then deal with Isabella in the end when you have to. More Cathay troops are trying to rejoin the fight, more of them are falling away. Miao Ying gets up into the sky in her dragon form that keeps her safe, while on her human form, she was taking a lot of damage from that White King, who also has heal cap now due to Isabella's chalice of, the blood chalice thingy. Blood Chalice of Bathorai. So they didn't finish off that White King, and this is turning into typically how healing factions win games, is unfortunately there was just not enough focus fire. So Cathay did a lot of damage to everybody instead of actually killing anybody, if that makes sense. So like the White King was super low for a long time, but he wasn't focused down, so now he's heal capped. Isabella was getting focused after the Crypt Horrors already hit their heal cap, so it's like, with healing factions, you just gotta finish one thing, then finish the next thing, then finish the next thing, because if you spread it out, they just all heal cap like that. Alright. Miao Ying didn't get as much value as I honestly would have thought. Terracotta Sentinels did fine. Jade Warriors did fine. Iron Hail Gunners got run down, but honestly still got good value. Peasant Horsemen and Peasant Longspears did really well. On the other side, Isabella did good. Necromancer did fine. Crypt Horrors all paid for themselves. White King got 2,100 value, which is kind of insane. He needed to be focused down a lot earlier. And then Skeleton Spears and Chaff just did Skeleton Spears and Chaff things. GG. All right. I messaged Anti-Kaiju what he wants to do about the game overall before I message Rusto. All spouses should be treated like pets. Oh, hashtag Slanesh. Yeah, okay. Yeah. What happens to the rule break thing? I'll figure it out. All right, so anti-kaiju, this is why I didn't message Rustu. I just told him the situation. I was like, your opponent had double zombie summons. It's not allowed. What do you want to do about it? And he said, let's just move on. That's fine. Which was honestly the answer I was hoping for because it's less drama. Your opponent said it was fine. Just a heads up, you had 2 of same spell with zombie summons. Try not to in future. All right. Yep, so the players just don't care, and that's fine. Skinks are cute and so are Croc scores. Croc scores are cute in their big dumb way. Hey Nagetsu, how you doing? So we're on to game 2. Looks like we have High Elves Skaven. This would be a good opportunity for anti-kaiju to come back. This is a pretty good matchup for the Skaven. It's playable for the High Elves. It's not like a hard counter, but you're definitely fighting an uphill battle if you're the High Elves. I want to do more streams where I get to play the game so I can play without feeling bad. Because right now I'm so busy in real life that when I sit down and play, it's like, well, I should probably stream something to keep the channel alive and healthy and all that stuff. I should do that. And there's like a million tournaments going on that people want cast and stuff, but I am hoping to get my schedule a little bit more so I can do at least one stream a week where I'm just playing the game and people can pop in if they want to. Because otherwise I worry I'm going to get skills fade. And I know a lot of you probably don't care, but I care that I'm still like a good player. And I feel like my commentary comes from a place of being a good player. I know you can just be a caster and be like entertaining or be nice or like announce what's going on, but I like feeling confident about my opinions on the game. And I feel like if I get stuck in a rut where I spend most of my time casting and not enough time playing, I feel like the skills fade will just make my opinions not matter. You know? Because there are people, and like, it happens in traditional sports, it happens in esports, it happens in just YouTube stuff. Like, there are things I watch where when there are people that cast, and I'm like, okay, honestly, I don't care what you have to say because you're not very good. Like League of Legends, I watch that, I watch competitive League of Legends, the LCS and stuff, and Worlds, and there are some casters that are nice people, but they're bronze, so I don't really give a shit what they say because I know it's not true. Like, a fucking 5-kill Malphite has 1,000,000 armor and the enemy has very little damage that has armor piercing to it, and he dives in and like the caster is like, and he goes in way too early, he's gonna die. I'm like, he's not gonna fucking die. And then he does it and he's like, that's insane, I can't believe he didn't die. And I'm like, because you don't understand how the game works. Like, I'm sorry, you're very nice, but you don't know what's going on. So I never want to be like that, personally. Like, it's just me. Alright, Falm. I'm normally a Dom guy, but it was neat to check out land battles for once. Good luck to players, I gotta go. Later, Falm. Have a good one. Which race is the best counter to vampire counts? Maybe Bretonnia with their current broken state, but that's not a very, like... They're the strongest faction with, like, a serious bug problem about one of their best units, so, like, that's not a very good answer. So, pretending Bretonnia doesn't exist, there's a lot of good matchups in vampire counts after their nerfs. They got brought way down the tier list. Probably still High Elves. High Elves have some pretty degenerate builds you can do that the vampire counts just can't deal with. So High Elves is still quite brutal for the vampire counts. I like Ogres. Some people don't, but I generally find Ogres have a good time versus the vampire counts. That's less proven. The High Elves is like super proven. People take that into vampire counts all the time, and they do very well. Ooh, Lizardmen. Lizardmen is real bad for the counts after the nerfs the counts took. Yeah, probably if you just want free wins, you don't care about having fun, stick to Lizardmen and High Elves and just like super degenerate heal blob or like Phoenix Guard box blob with an Air Force goon squad and like Tempest in case the enemy brings Vargeists with the High Elves. Or for Lizardmen, just get like the Shredder of Lustria plus 2 Revivification Crystals plus a Life Salon and just blob up super hard and the counts can't deal with it. Like, if you're just talking about raw wins, yeah, those are great. Chaos, ooh! Okay, yep, John beat me. Yep, okay, I forgot he existed. Yeah, Warriors of Chaos with that new hero is better than even Bretonnia versus the vampire counts. Like, it's almost unplayable. For sure, that is the best option. Yeah. Good call out, good call out. So, like, with all, you know, between those 3 options, if you're looking for some good dubs, those 3 factions are pretty good. Bretonnia is also solid, but I imagine that they'll get nerfed next patch, so maybe not worth, like, long-term learning it. Anyway, for the game in front of us, we have Skaven versus High Elves. For the Skaven, we do have Clan Rats and Skaven Slaves mixed here at the front line, 3 Poisonman Globes, 1 Natty Boobs Sharpshooter, the Warplock Jezzail ROR, 2 Plague Claw Catapults, love to see them. I've been experimenting with them a bit recently. They've usually underwhelmed me, but they aren't like Queek, where they're tragically bad and I get mad at myself for bringing them. They're just not optimal, but they're still not very good. And 4 Rat Ogres. Cool. Ica Claw's Lord, forgot to mention him. We have Flensing Rune and Howling Warpgale, 2 pretty good spells. On the other side, for the High Elves, we have a Rush that is going to try entirely to come through the trees, which is fine. You might be like, what about Forest or White Line rules? Those are camping. You can't camp. But the High Elves can advance through the woods as long as they eventually come out of the woods and play the game. They couldn't just sit in the woods and do nothing, though. So the High Elves are going to advance without the prying eyes of the Skaven, seeing them, shooting them, all those things. We have 4 Rangers, 2 White Lions of Krace, 4 Illyrian Reavers, the Rahagras Pride War Lions ROR, and then the Fireborn Dragon Princes ROR, a Mage of Death with Fate of Buna and Spirit Leech, and Tyrion, Heir of Venarian, Wielder of Sunfang, Savior of Ulthuan, and Defender of the Phoenix Crown. The whole spiel. One problem I see immediately is if the Natty Bubo Sharpshooters are spotted, this Fate of Buna caster can walk in and just insta-kill them and get 1,200 free value. Like, literally, the Fate of Buna will straight up 100-0 kill them. Not just like, oh, it does a lot of damage. Like, no, that unit will shatter. So that's a little concerning, but if the Fate of Buna is used, there are plenty of globes that are waiting to eat up the High Elf forces, so overall I don't think the Skaven are too perturbed. While this is why I generally stop taking Natty Bubos, is because they're a really good unit, but Fate of Buna just stops their existence. You know your weapons teams are going to get Fate of Buna, so it's fine. The Skaven do need to be much more aggressive about rotating. Right now, it seems like they're a little caught off guard, and they're focusing mostly on shooting, which is fine, but like these guys need to come all the way over here, because there's nothing to defend against on this area, and I'm getting a little concerned. Especially some of them need to start filtering through to the back, because there's so many mobile assets that the Rat Ogres aren't going to be able to stop them all. They're going to get through, so we do need to see some of these spears coming back. Already the Rahagras Pride are here, and Tyrion's taking a lot of damage from the Natty Booba Sharpshooters, but also from Ica Claw, and now we get a Flensing Ruin. It is not Overcast, but still it's going to do a lot of damage, and Rat Ogres commit to the Tyrion fight rather than stopping the Rahagras Pride, which are now here on the back of the Plague Claw Catapults. That is bold, and I have to say that is probably a mistake from our friends, the Skaven. Tyrion is getting massively killed, though, especially with that Flensing Rune and Ikit Claw joining in on him. Now, he does have that heal from the Heart of Avalorn, but he usually routes before it matters, so let's see if they can even chase Tyrion off, because it has popped, so he's going to rally for sure, and he does get away, so yep, he's going to come right back, but still, good damage on Tyrion from the Skaven. Poison Globes doing Poison Globes things, killing lots of stuff, but there's so much chaff sitting around here that needs to turn around, that needs to come back to the backfield and help out. But thankfully, the Illyrian Reavers cluster up around the Rat Ogres and Ikit Claw, taking a massive nuking from those Poison Globes, and even the Rahagras Pride are on their way out. So thankfully, Skaven being dumb bullshit sometimes wins out for the Skaven there. But yeah, these chaff do need to get a lot more active in defending their backline, and Globes are still fucking ridiculous. More Globes throwing over onto the white lines of Krace, and I swear that Globes do a lot more damage versus cavalry than they do versus infantry these days. Their damage on infantry is honestly pretty meh, but they wreck cav. I don't know why that is, and I think it's dumb. I think Globes are dumb. I play Skaven, and I use a lot of Globes because you need to if you want to win games. I can still think they're dumb. I hope Skaven Globes get some serious nerfs. I hope their Molder monsters get some pretty good buffs. Another Flensing Rune onto Tyrion. His heal cap is already well within sight because of that Heart of Avalorn, and this is an overcasted Flensing Rune. That's going to do a ton of damage to him. And oh no, Rusto seems to have forgotten the Fireborn in the backfield. They are now going to be used to chase off Rat Ogres, but that's more of an Illyrian Reaver's job. These Fireborn got to get more active. We have Globe teams. We have a Plague Claw Catapult that is currently not shut down, so while I will criticize the Skaven for leaving a lot of their chaff too long in the front line, I also have to criticize the Isles for some delayed engagements that is costing them a lot. Second Fate of Yuna is out. It is on the Poison Globes, and honestly, that's a fine thing to do. The Natty Boobo Sharpshooters are right there, and they're worth a lot more gold, but at this state of the game, you're much more worried about the Globes than the Natty Boobos, because Natty Boobos are like, they're busy. They're stuck in all this crap, you know? There's already Rangers next to them. There's Rahagras Pride next to them. It was much more important to take out the Globes, which Isles did. Still one Globe left, and they are going to turn around, probably throwing at the Rangers or the Rahagras Pride here. That's going to do a lot of friendly fire, though. This is not a good ratio of enemies to friends. Okay, thankfully for the Skaven, they did the stupid thing where they didn't throw, which in this exact scenario is actually a good thing for the Skaven. Where's Ikit? He was chasing Tyrion, who routed again, but he also got another Heart of Avalorn, so he's officially heal capped. And Ikit's like, fuck it, fine, and just goes back to his own area. High Elves are catching back up on the balance power, maybe even ahead, as the last ranged unit, the Poison Globes, are stuck in melee now with the Fireborn. And there's not a lot that can kill those Fireborn now with the last Globe being stuck in melee with them, but a nice brass orb from Ikit is going to do some serious damage, but I don't know if it can actually kill them off, as the Rangers and the Rahagras Pride are getting through. Natty Booba Sharpshooters getting pushed off into the distance. That might be a good thing for the Skaven, because they were so mucked up in this fight for so long. They needed orders to leave. The route is forcing them to leave. And unless, Fireborn might have gotten orders to just deal with them. Oh no, is that a Flensing Rune onto the Fireborn? No, it's such a waste, damn it. Oh, that should have been used on Tyrion 100%. No, the Skaven. Oh no. All right, Tyrion runs into the Flensing Rune, but it's probably on its way out anyway because it was undercast, it was not overcast. But the Natty Boobos actually rally in the distance. The Natty Boobos need to turn, and they need to save this game. They need to put this game on their back. They need to start shooting at the Fireborn, shooting at Tyrion. They need to free up Ikit Claw. Now, thankfully, another Terror out comes in, pushing off the Fireborn. Tyrion's not looking so good. The Skaven might still have hope in this game, but it is a fleeting hope as Ikit gets away to safety. Does he have another Flensing Ruin? He's cast 3 undercasts and 1 overcast. He should have another Flensing Ruin, like, in the game in general. If he can use that to kill Tyrion, he'll be fine. I'm super concerned about this Mage of Death that is just right next to the Natty Boobos. It looks like she hasn't noticed that they're there. Yeah, they were stalked, so she doesn't quite know what a danger they pose. But the Natty Boobos are obstructed from Tyrion. They need to turn and shoot the Fireborn instead, but they're not going to. They're really committing onto Tyrion, but oh no, the Fireborn are just gonna run you down, my dudes! Shoot! 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 Now they get orders to shoot at the Fireborn, but it is too late. They're going to get a couple pot shots, but it's not going to be nearly enough. They will be run down and immediately just destroyed. And I don't know if the Skaven can pull it back from here. Yeah. Natty Boobos being dead. Army losses gets close from the balance of power. Another Spirit Leech onto Ikit Claw might just do it, might just tip us over the edge. He is going to get a nice Brass Orb onto some more infantry. Maybe that can stay the hand of Army losses, but Army losses is a cruel mistress, and the Dragonborn are coming over here looking for blood, and as soon as they charge Ikit Claw, I have to think that this game will end. The Globes are back, though. They get a huge shot off, and a Flensing Ruin that goes onto the Fireborn. Doesn't do nearly as much damage to like multi-entity models as single entities though. So unfortunately, I also think that's a bit of a waste. Thankfully, the Deathcaster ended up in the cast as well, so they are all taking damage. The Fireborn route that might hold back army losses enough to keep the Skaven in it, but Ikit routing is gonna call it. Yeah, I don't see. Well, unless this Deathcaster doesn't chase him. If the Deathcaster doesn't chase him, he might rally. But the Dragonborn didn't actually route; they just tear routed. Oh, and that Spirit Leech is that's it. That's the end of the game. Goddamn you, Spirit Leech. You fuck. Ikit rallies, and he routes. He doesn't even stop. Like, he didn't even stop rolling. That's how seamless that route and rally was. So he's off the map for sure. And that's GG. Yeah, some suboptimal Flensing Ruin targets. If you are ever playing Skaven, Flensing Ruin is a really strong spell, but it's only good versus single entities. It is just never worth it to cast on anything else, unfortunately. So a bit of a whoopsie there. It still did really well. 5,200 value. Fucking Tyrion getting a ton. Tyrion, 500 value. He did not get a ton for himself. Spirit Leech and Fate of Unicaster did great. The Fireborn did great. War Lions of Krace also did very well. The High Elf Infantry mixed. Only one really paying for itself. Illyrian Reavers also got mostly shut down, but it was enough. Ikit Claw did fantastically. Got a lot of value, even with like some things that I would argue were suboptimal, you know, Flensing Ruin targets. Like, still overall got really good value out of killing Tyrion. Plague Claw Catapults unfortunately showing a bit of their weakness. Rat Ogres did okay. Globes did pretty well overall. One of them got Fate of Unit into death. Another one got Fate of Unit later, but at least got to get its value back. And Skaven Slaves and Clan Rats did okay. Some deployment issues from the Skaven, not rotating those chaff units. Really started to hurt them in the late game. But, yeah. It was good. Well played by Russ, though. Solid build overall, too. GG. Alright, we should have 2 more replays to cast from the semifinal that we didn't get to catch live. Even though you'll know who wins if you feel like sticking around for some games. That's cool. If not, it's the end of the tournament, not the end of the stream, but it's the end of the tournament. Rusto has prevailed. And he will get the Bone Ripper roll for being a big, tough guy. I'm back to the Skaven beat the Ogres? Nah. Hey, I asked to play a while back and you agreed. Could I add you on Steam? Sure. That's fine.
VR.
You're staying until your game is cast? Alright, Dr. Nerd. Alright, I'll cast you. I'll do it. Does anybody know what point the leaderboards are filled with the 32 rank guys? I don't know your real rank. I know they're still, like, really fucked up. They're really fucked up. This is from earlier in the tournament. Dr. Nerdgash sent it to me. From Arnheim? Why are you on Arnheim? Versus Awesomers? This, hey, Dr. Nerdgash, this was not from this tournament, you liar. You didn't fight Awesomers in round 1. You fought, Bavarat. This wasn't wrong thing? I don't know what it is. He's messaging me saying it's the wrong one. Alright. Well, I don't know what this is. While we wait for those semifinal replays to show up, Anti-Kaiju's getting him. I'm gonna see what the hell this was that was sent to me. It looks like Nurgle blobbing up while advancing, and they're going to get their asses handed to them. Ooh, Little Grom's going into melee, though. That's a bit of a whoopsie. They do need to fall back. Is Arnheim a quick battle map? If so, why? It's not a good land battle map. Alright. That was strange. Okay. So I'm just going to go to this. Because I don't really need a blocker. You know who wins at this point. TY, TY. Okay. So, this is the semifinal matchup between Helmhammer and Anti-Kaiju. We do know how it ended, but I wanted to cast the games anyway. Anti-Kaiju repping Grand Cathay yet again versus Helm Hero and Kislev. And a very interesting Kislev build. So this is from today's tournament. This is from this thing. Okay. So for Grand Cathay, Anti-Kaiju brought 2 Grand Cannons, 2 Iron Hail Gunners, 2 Jade Warrior Crossbows with shields. It's pretty solid. Peasant Long Spearmen, Jade Warriors set up in a pretty good front line. Some Peasant Horsemen mixed with Jade Lancers. And we do have a Dragon-Blooded Shugen and Lord of Yin with Talons of Night, Ancestral Warriors, and Cloak of Jet. Solid setup. Curious that there's not the slow. It's the Cloak of Jet. Ooh, and Kislev had a Vanguard play with 4 Kossovite Dervishes, 2 Heavy War Sleds, a Little Grom, the Frozen Heart Elemental Bear, a Patriarch, a Boyar on foot with nothing, and then Kossars across the front lines. No armored Kossars. Okay, cool. Now, in very, very early Warhammer 3, before Immortal Empires, Kossovite Dervishes were frequently used to just kamikaze rampage straight into Grand Cannons and knock them offline with their Unbreakable passive. They could just YOLO in and kill those guys. We'll see if we're going to get a similar thing here as Heavy War Sleds go burst straight through the Jade Warriors. Harmony be damned, that Jade Warrior's already below half HP. And the Heavy War Sleds are moving further in. There go the Kossovite Dervishes. They are moving towards the Grand Cannons, but they get distracted by the Jade Lancers, which is unfortunate. They should not be taking that fight. They should just suicide for the Grand Cannons, because they're going to do 0 damage to those heavily armored Jade Lancers. They're much more useful shutting down other stuff. But Heavy War Sleds are doing great work, really killing off these Iron Hails. Little Grom's already dead, by the way. He is entirely gone. But the Heavy War Sleds going ripping through this backline, but the Iron Hail Gunners might have something to say about that. As the War Sleds get caught up just a little bit, that allows the Iron Hails to actually shoot them. There we go, Dervishes. Shutting down that Grand Cannon, taking it offline, and giving Kislev actually a pretty good start to this game. Again, the Dervishes getting involved in a Cav versus Cav engagement is not ideal. If you're Helmhammer and you're watching this at some point, definitely do not use them for that, because they suck for that purpose. But the one you dove onto the Grand Cannon, that was great. Now a rear charge onto the Jade Warriors. And still these Heavy War Sleds are just making mincemeat out of these guys. Alright. Kossars are getting in range. One thing you have to be worried about is these are basic Kossars. These aren't the armored Kossars, so they're like archers. Which means you have no melee infantry to really do very much versus the enemy. Kossovite Dervish is almost dead. The Heavy War Sleds need some healing from their Patriarch, which, did he even take it? Yeah, he took healing, so he does need to get over near them. As this attrition will wear them down. Iron Hail Gunners trying to get a couple shots off onto the Bear Sleds before the Bear Sleds get to them once again. Jade Lancers tracking them as well. There are a bunch of spears left. Grand Cannons trying to get back online as they're getting shot by arrows. And the Frozen Heart of Winter's chilling. He's doing stuff. Oh, fuck! Kislev has no caster! Derek, I just saw that. Damn it! That's brutal. That's brutal. You need a caster. You need a caster. So those 2 Kossovite Dervishes that wrapped up the Cathay guys just lost to them anyway, because Kossovite Dervishes are kind of meh without just abusing their unbreakable status. A point-blank breath attack deletes 2 Cathay units. I really like how the Kislev player is playing this overall. It just sucks that they don't have a caster. Now the War Sleds are in a bit of trouble. The Dragon-Blooded Shugi Lord is over here doing good damage, and so are these Jade Lancers to them. The heavy War Sleds getting worn down by larger targets than infantry, so they can't just infinitely pull through. Kislev's starting to lose some steam. The Frozen Heart of Winter does a really cool looking breath attack on some Peasant Longspears who are running away. But this is the end of the War Sleds. 1 model here, 2 models here. They're unbreakable, wears off. They will rout. Iron Hails and Cannons are rallying in the distance. Now the Kossars are getting committed to melee, but they will fight Peasant Longspears who are actually just better than them, I think. Well, actually, the Kossars have better stats. Doesn't feel like it, but supposedly they do. Jade Warriors will kick a ton of ass, though. I don't know about this one. Ancestral Warrior Summon coming out. That is the second one. Get the Kossars in the face. I wouldn't hate for a Talons of Night, like especially on a blobbed up unit like this that's right next to each other. But Ancestral Warriors is fine. They'll cut through the Kossars also quite nicely. These Jade Lancers need to get remobilized. Grand Cannons are coming back to their mounts. And if those cannons start shooting at the Frozen Heart of Winter, they're going to do a lot of damage to it. It's almost impossible to miss that guy. He's so big. What up, Vertical Cliff? How you doing? How you doing? Bear Sled casts Burr. It's super effective. That's actually great. I love that Grievin. So here comes the concern, is that the Kossars really are not a melee infantry, no matter how much the game might try and tell you Kislev is full of hybrid infantry. They are pretty much just archers. Talons of Night catches them, and they are getting shot, and they are taking damage. So Peasant Longspear is going to yeet into that situation, but the cannons are back online. This says it has 4 models alive, but it does not, because I can see that one not being alive. Anyway, a lot of cannons are still left. They're going to start shooting at the Frozen Heart of Winter. And the Iron Hails are shooting in. That's going to be a lot of damage for the big boy. The ouchies were big. The ouchies were many. As he loses 2,000 damage in front of your eyes, he's down to 3,000 damage. Like, since we started looking at him, he's taking 3,000 damage. A quick Heart of Winter that is bound to him. It is cast, but he's still taking a ton of damage. And a lot of Unbreakables are popping right now, so the Kossars will probably start actually routing soon. Well, that was a good Heart of Winter cast. It is catching a lot of stuff. It is undercast, not overcast, because it's just bound. And yeah, that boy was healthy just a bit ago. Now he's dead. Now he's dead as hell. Goodbye, Frozen Heart of Winter. Without him, that will be the end of Brave Kislev. It was a good showing. Really good micro from the Kislev player. Just a couple of build issues, I think. From Helm Hero. I mean, having no caster is brutal, but also just like Little Grom didn't really have a place in this matchup because cannons will generally do quite well into it. So that just shouldn't be in the build. The Consummate Dervishes were brought to be cavalry instead of like suicide bombers, so yeah, just a couple build issues, but his micro is really on point. I liked it a lot. What up, JB? And then for the last game of the day, what the there we go. Last game of the day, last game of the stream before I have to go back to work. It is Skaven versus Greenskins. Anti-Kaiju versus Helm Hero. This was from the semifinal. If you're just tuning in now, confused where we are, the tournament is done. I just wanted to cast the games from one of the semifinals that I missed. VP versus Kislev. Alright, apparently there's another replay I'm supposed to watch from Dr. Nerd. And apparently that one's the correct one. The first one we watched on Arnheim was not the correct one, so I guess I'll watch that after this. Don't work 10 plus hours though? I usually do. Alright, for the Skaven, we have Natty Boobo Sharpshooters, triple Poison Wind Globes, a front line of a bunch of Skaven Slaves and Clan Rat Spears. We have 2 Rat Ogres, 2 Wolf Rats with Poison, a Chieftain on a Bone Breaker, a Warlock Engineer with Cleansing Ruin and the Mortis Engine Armor, plus a Howling Warp Gale. Then we have Throt the Unclean. You don't see a lot of Throt. He has Creature Killer, Remoldered, his Rat Ogre Summon. That's about it. The other side, for the Green Beans, we have some Black Orcs, Savage Orc, Orc Boar Boy Biggins, Orc Horror Boys, a single Doom Diver Catapult, Night Goblins with the spinny loons, Orc Boys, Savage Orcs, more Night Goblins, more Orc Horror Boys, Spirit Leech Caster, and Grimgore, Mother Flippin' Ironhide with only best of the best. This is a very unique Greenskins build. How is the Doom Diver doing? Oh, wow, not well. Okay. Throt just ran up, dropped a Rat Ogre Summon on it, and peaced out. Okay, I was wondering how it was doing before that, but after the Rat Ogre Summon, I guess we don't get to know, as the Doom Diver is shut down. It is going to rout here. Now, it should be able to return to the fray. I just don't know if it's going to matter at that point. As Skaven Slaves get run the fuck down by Boar Boy Biggins, more Orc Boys are also going to slap through them. And the Greenskins front line is usually better than the Skavens, but this front line is particularly elite. So the Skaven are going to have to do something rather quick about this while their slaves are getting chewed up. Thankfully, they do have globes. They do have Warp Lock Giselles that are trying to do some stuff. The globes will do a bit of damage. Those we talked about during the finals, I feel like globes don't do nearly as much damage versus infantry as they do versus cavalry these days. So they're not exactly the infantry murdering machines you're used to seeing. Still do good, just not like insta-kill them. Like cavalry, for some reason, one volley will like straight up kill cavalry. It's fucking wild. Rat Ogres and Dogs fighting up the trees, getting some Clan Rat support now as Giselles continue to fire at Black Orcs, but that is generally not going to be a good engagement for the Skaven on the high ground. Savage Orcs are getting peeled off by Rat Ogres and Poison Wind Globes as more Spirit Leeches are getting cast from various casters. Looks like they're focusing on to Throt. Throt the Thought. Night Goblins and Orc Boys. Well, these Night Goblins are a little AFK. They do need to move up and get in there. As some Wolf Rats dive into the back line. There are wounded Orc Boys nearby, plus these are Orc Horror Boys. They should be sufficient to fight back against the dogs and actually just rout the dogs on their own. But we will see. As archers, these archers are deployed very far back. They do need to move up. So right now they're just firing at like dogs and stuff, but they got to get in range of shooting at Natty Boobos or Throt or the Rat Ogres or something. Giselles taking their day out on the Black Orcs. Gone are the days that they were a single entity sniping tool. Now they actually do a lot of damage versus infantry because of they have like model piercing. And Rat Ogres have joined the dogs, really turning the tides of this fight in the backfield. Shattering off some Orc Horror Boys, getting rid of Orc Boys too. Yeah, we have some Orc Boar Biggins and Archers still up in the trees, just kind of vibing. Which they need to get more aggressive. It feels like the Greenskin build was built to be a rush build and then is playing like it has a ranged advantage, which it doesn't. I mean, you're dealing with a Giselle and 3 Poison Globes. Your Archers are not going to outshoot that. Boar Boy Biggins did dive into the back line. They got onto some Natty Boobos, but with Throt nearby and Rat Ogres, they are going to rout pretty quickly. And more Boar Boy Biggins are going to come back here and help out, which will be good unless the globes just turn around and kill you off that way. Is that going to be an Overcasted Cleansing Ruin? That is an Overcasted Cleansing Ruin. Ouch. Ouch, says the Grimgore. Ouch, says the Giant River Troll Hag. Things are starting to look pretty good for the Skaven. Rat Ogres still in the backfield are going to go and try and harass some archers. The archers should be able to deal with them just fine. The main point is while the archers are busy doing that, the rest of the battlefield's kind of going to shit for the Greenskins. Natty Boobos do eventually rout, but these Orc Boar Boy Biggins are now fighting bonus versus large Rat Ogres. They're not going to enjoy that. Not one bit. Not even a little bit. Grimbus Gorus is fighting some Poison Wind Globes while the Giant River Troll Hag is shattered. So no more Spirit Leeches for the Greenskins, no more magic whatsoever. Oh, and the Chieftain with Bone Breakers in the backfield, just kind of harassing a Doom Diver Catapult. Gets a huge charge off onto those guys. And the Archers still sitting in the trees, opting to not come out and fire. It is really costing the Greenskins. But for some reason, those Archers just don't want to come out and play. Orc Boar Boy Biggins continuing to fight. Now the Rat Ogres Creature Killer wore off, so they are able to just get destroyed by these Biggins, but still taking a lot of damage, and Skaven Slaves are opting to help in too. The Giselles are back, and they're shooting at Grimgore. Globes are also hitting Savage Orcs. There's still a ton of Skaven chaff left. Some Night Orc Boys have gotten onto these Poison Wind Globes, so say goodbye to those Globes. And the Chieftain's still in the backfield. Some Rat Ogres are also coming in to deal with the Orc Horror Boys. Grimgor is trying to get a fight with Throth the Unclean, it looks like. But with no Spider Riders or Wolf Riders or anything to chase stuff that routes, it can all just come back. Somehow the Warlock Engineer ended up in a bad way fighting Night Goblins and Black Orcs in melee. He's not enjoying that whatsoever. And the Chieftain's just rolling through Orc Arborboys trying to get him to stop from doing stuff. As they now shoot at Poison Globes, Throth's going to come over and tear out off these Savage Orcs pretty easily. And Grimgor is stuck fighting Rat Ogres and Skaven Slaves, which honestly he's fine doing. Warlock Engineer routes. That might be a whoopsie that costs the Skaven this game. Might be. As I don't know where all these Orc Arborboys are going. They're decidedly ignoring the Chieftain that's inside of their ranks when they could spread out and like focus fire him down. Throth's also here now. Yeah, that's a toughie. Jezzails are still firing. Looks like at the Black Orcs now. Dogs rallied and dogs routed. It's just kind of the dog life. Rat Ogre's charging downhill. Throth the Unclean and his Chieftain friend rear charges Orc Arborboys. That is going to get rid of them. Black Orcs hanging in there due to their ITP, but even they are going to rout pretty soon here. The Warlock Engineer is back. He should have a Flensing Ruin off cooldown by now, so I imagine that'll be going for Grimgor in short order as Jezzails continue to poke that little guy down. Greenskins are getting close to army losses territory as Throth and the Chieftain are so healthy they're propping up this balance of power. Kind of crazily. I wonder if, yeah, if we get one Flensing Ruin, this is going to be army losses, but even then it hits before that. GG. Okay. So that is how Anti-Kaiju got to the finals. On the backs of the Skaven. Poison Globes did well. The single entities did not do amazing, but they were there. Natty Boobles did fine. Dogs and Rat Ogres did fine. For Helm Hero, Grimgor struggled to really find a home. River Troll got sniped out. Black Orcs did fine. Orc Boy Biggins did okay. These Night Goblin Fanatics were brought, but I didn't see a single Fanatic go off, so I think they might have been like that extra piece of micro of using the ability got lost in the sauce. Orc Boys and Savage Orcs did okay. The Archers, like, they got decent-ish values, but they were just too far from the fight for too long. Alright. What was that thing? So this is the actual replay that Dr. Nerd wanted us to see. It is from this tournament. It was round 1. He sent it to me, and he apparently took PTO or took lunch off from work or something to see this, so I guess we'll cast it. But, yeah, we'll see why he was so adamant about getting a cast. It is Kislev again. We only get Kislev in the replays, not in the live stream. It's conspiracy. Alright. So for Balvarat and the Vampire Coast, we have triple Scurvy Dog, triple Sirens as well. Zombie Pirate Mobs with handguns, looks like 2 of them. 4 Deck Gunners, 2 Bomber Mobs, 4 Sword Mobs, and then Count Noctilus on foot with Summon and Heal. The other side for Kislev, we do have a nice Witch of Tempest with Blizzard, Gust of True Flight, and Hailstorm. Triple Zargard, one of which is the Daz's Hearthblades ROR Zargard. What the fuck was that? An overcasted Hailstorm onto some bombers. The overcast damage is going to hurt her. And it just keeps going. It's not doing a lot of damage. Alright, anyway, Armored Kossars with great weapons, Kossars with spears, and triple Streltsy, so a lot of shooties. And a Patriarch with some healing and stuff. But the Ice Witch is getting murked. Her Buy Our Blood passive already pops, and she's still trying to run, but she's not really dodging, she's just running in straight lines. Like, she is switching directions occasionally, but it's just too slow, so, like, a lot of the Deck Gunner shots are still hitting her. She's down to 1,000 HP. Brutal start. The Deck Gunners might want to focus on the Zargard, though. As cool as it is to snipe out the enemy cast like that, Deck Gunners do a lot more damage versus infantry than single entities. Like, you can see how much they're doing to the Daz's to Earthblades. You do need to kill these triple Zargard, because I don't see anything in this build that can handle the Zargard in melee, so you do have to kill them before they even get here. Daz's Hearthblade's almost dead. A heal is popped in the back for the Ice Witch, but it's not going to hit the Hearthblades. Who are also getting close to routing. The Sirens are going to have to move up. Yeah, the coast front line is going to have to get a lot more aggressive because they're letting archers get in range of the deck gunners, which can't be allowed to happen. Like, this whole front line needed to move up a while ago, and then the deck gunners would still be outside the range of the archers, so that the archers would have to get through their front line before they could even get in range of the deck gunners, but now the deck gunners are going to take a ton of damage. Dod's Earthblades are almost dead from the constant fire. Zargard taking a bit of damage as well, as the firepower continues to come in. But now Kislev is in range. They'll start counter-firing, doing a lot of damage in very short time. One of the deck gunners is about toast. Another one is on its way out, which is largely what we were worried about, as more bombers just pound the Zargard. It's not doing as much damage, though, because of their extreme armor. But still some. Now the Sirens are coming. A Blizzard is cast on the high ground to try and deal with this handgun mob. It'll catch them a little bit, but they should be able to get out of it okay. But yeah, the Sirens and the dogs have to go harass the back line. They've been a little too passive so far. So you have to get more activated. Noctilus is also throwing out some summons to delay this advance. And how are Zargard doing? Both of them have popped by our blood already. Dow's Earthblades are retreating, and Armored Cost with great weapons are content to just shoot. They're getting rather damaged. Still, the Ice Witch of Tempest took more damage. She got a heal earlier, so she must have gotten shot again while she was running around. A Hailstorm is coming for those Sirens who attempt to dodge, and actually a pretty good dodge from them. They get away. They're fine. They're chilling. Noctilus is going to continue to try and snipe her out with a Wraith Storm coming in. Now, remember, her Buyer Blood was already popped, so this Wraith Storm is going to do a good amount of damage, and it might just rout her. She gets a second heal from Silic's Lullaby. Terror Out still forces her away for a bit, though. Noctilus summons another pistol mob who are going to shoot the Streltsy in the back while the dogs dive in, while Sirens dive in. Things are going pretty well for the Vampire Coast now that they've gotten involved, and two of their deck gunners still survived the onslaught of archers. They need to get away from these Zargard, though. They're a little too close to those guys for my liking. Sirene's still chasing that lady, and if she routs one more time, she is gone, and her leadership goes negative. She manages to rally, and nice dodge there from Bavarat. Sirene's dodging the Hailstorm. He should turn the summon around and just shoot that Ice Witch and take her out for once and for all. Or the deck gunners can snipe her. It's what we kind of talked about before. We've talked about it twice during the stream, but the short version is, like, when there's a lot of healing around, you need to commit to killing things. So this lady's super low and she's routed twice. You need to just, like, kill her. Alright, but then it's over? Okay. Guess he just FF'd? Don't really know what's going on with that, but okay. Sirens didn't get a lot of damage value out. They were held a little too long. Deck gunners did great. Noctilus did fine. The handgun mobs did okay, too. Dogs did alright. So yeah, for Bavarat, I would get more aggressive more quickly with everything but the deck gunners to buy space for the deck gunners. While for Dr. Nerdgash, I mean, your caster took a lot of damage in the early game. She couldn't wander out that far. Just went too far out. The Zargard were bold, but they just largely got shot to pieces. The rest of the build was fine. The archers and the Streltsy did really well. I'd probably take more of them, less Zargard. And I personally hate the lore of Tempest. I always go with the lore of Ice. I know it's contentious among Kislev players, but I think the lore of Tempest is wildly overrated. I would just go Heart of Winter and be done with it. Or these days, since Ulrika's been released, honestly, just go Ulrika. Ulrika's solid. Just take her on foot. Give her Pit of Shades and Melkoth's Mystifying Miasma. And then for your Lord, since you have to take one, you could take Castalton if you want the healing. If you don't want the healing, then just take a Foot Boyar with the Axe of Tor. It's also fine. But Ulrika's just a better caster than any of your Lords, because Ice sucks. Tempest sucks. Because you can take Heart of Winter with Ice, or sometimes what I do is take Zarina Katarин on foot and then just have Death Frost with her. Because Death Frost is okay, and you have to fill out your Lord slot, and then you can go really wide with Kislev. That's generally how I like playing them, but I haven't played this matchup in quite a while. So, yeah. GG's. GG's. That is it for the stream today. We have a stream Monday. Not Monday. My days are all fucked up. We have a stream tomorrow night for Cool Umbrella's Friday Night Fights. We have a stream Saturday around the time that this stream was for the Ultra Funds tournament. And then Sunday we have a fun little community thing. So we are back from our hiatus. We are streaming in style. We will be around. Okay, goodbye everybody. Goodbye, goodbye, goodbye.